Welcome to Novel Love Hearing. We bring you hundreds of novel audiobooks covering every genre and every kind of story you can imagine. Action? We've got it. Adventure? Absolutely. Horror? Of course. Whether it's the legendary Uchiha Massacre or outrageous tales like stealing Naruto's and Sasuke's women, you'll find it here. From epic series like One Piece, Bleach, Fairy Tail, and Hunter x Hunter, to countless other adventures, our library has it all. Love novels but don't have time to read? No worries, just plug in your earbuds, sit back, and let the story take over. Good listening, and happy hearing. Chapter 1, The Strongest Trait System. East Blue. This was a luxury liner carrying socialites and wealthy merchants. Right now, it was bustling with activity, a grand ball in full swing, the elite passengers mingling and drinking inside. Amidst the crowd, a figure with striking orange hair gazed out at the sea beyond the ship's railing. The Alvida pirates, they should be showing up soon, right? Nami stared at the ocean, still settling after a recent whirlpool, her eyes thoughtful. She'd gotten word that the Alvida pirates planned to attack this liner, so she had changed into a formal dress and snuck aboard earlier. Once the Alvida pirates appeared and started their attack, she could use the chaos as cover to steal their treasure. She was a thief specializing in stealing from pirates. "My beautiful lady, may I have this dance?" A light chuckle sounded from behind her. Nami turned at the voice to see a handsome young man smiling at her. "Of course." Nami smiled lightly, placing her slender hand in the young man's. "That whirlpool earlier was quite something, wasn't it?" Rowan led Nami onto the dance floor, smiling as he looked at the woman dancing with him, the story's original heroine. "It was. It gave me quite a fright," Nami replied with a smile of her own. Rowan simply smiled back without saying more, thinking inwardly. "Read. Traits." Instantly, a translucent screen appeared before Rowan's eyes. Nami traits: pirate thief, blue; navigation, deep purple; climate sense, pale gold; pirate thief, blue; a good-hearted thief specializing in stealing from malicious pirates, possessing exceptional stealth and lock-picking skills; navigation, deep purple; exceptional navigational skills, allowing for relatively smooth sailing across the four blues and the first half of the Grand Line; climate sense, pale gold; an innate, powerful talent allowing her to precisely perceive weather changes using her own body, as expected of the Straw Hat's future navigator. Even at the very start of the story, she already has one deep purple and one pale gold trait. Rowan felt a touch of admiration. Rowan was a transmigrator from Earth. A month ago, he had crossed over from his world into the world of One Piece. Just as Rowan was lamenting his arrival in this world teeming with monstrously strong individuals, he awakened his unique system, the strongest trait system. As the name implied, Rowan could perceive the abilities of others as distinct traits, and more importantly, he could plunder and equip these traits himself. Traits were divided into 4 tiers: white, blue, purple, and gold. Straightforward, almost like tiers in a gacha game back on Earth. White and blue traits had no further subdivisions, feeling common, like pulling junk in a gacha. Purple and gold traits, however, were divided into 3 sub-levels: pale, deep, and apex. Just by being a pirate robbing thief in the East Blue, the weakest of the seas, Nami's navigation skill was already deep purple, and her innate climate sense was pale gold. Once she joined the Straw Hat crew and entered the Grand Line, both of those traits would likely level up fast. Yes, traits weren't fixed, they could be upgraded. While others had to rely on talent and effort, Rowan could plunder and upgrade them directly through his system. Trait: Rowan, beast strength, blue. Beast strength, blue, the raw strength of a wild beast. Just a single blue trait. Compared to Nami's impressive trait setup, it seemed rather pathetic. But Rowan had only been in this world for a month. Furthermore, he'd gotten this trait through sheer luck when he first arrived. There just happened to be a dead beast nearby. This beast strength, blue, was the trait he had plundered from that dead animal. Don't underestimate it just because it was a blue trait, though. Most ordinary pirates only had a few white traits, if any valuable traits at all. They were no match for Rowan. It was thanks to this blue trait that Rowan had managed to stay relatively safe on these pirate-infested seas. Not long ago, he had found this ship, the very one where the story begins, and boarded it. Trait: Ship of Beginnings, the ship where the One Piece story starts. Traits like this didn't even rank as white, they were purely descriptive. With this trait confirming the location, Rowan wasn't worried about being on the wrong vessel. As for why he sought out this specific ship, to acquire more high-tier traits, naturally. This ship was about to be overflowing with potential treasures. A slight smile touched Rowan's lips. Swish. Boom. 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 The next moment, countless cannonballs rained down from the sea. The resulting violent explosions instantly plunged the liner into chaos. In the distance, a pirate ship flying a heart and skull Jolly Roger was rapidly approaching. Help! Pirates! Don't panic. Please, stay calm. The passengers' terrified screams and the captain's desperate shouts to maintain order echoed across the deck, but under the imminent threat of pirates and cannon fire, any semblance of control vanished. Perfect timing. Nami watched the ship flying Alvida's Jolly Roger draw near, a flicker of excitement in her eyes. But very quickly, Nami realized something was off. This young man she had just been dancing with, why wasn't he panicked in the slightest? Instead, just like her, he was watching the approaching pirate ship, and his eyes held a distinct gleam. No way. Did I run into another thief? Nami immediately grew wary. It seems you have your own business to attend to, miss. Shall we go our separate ways then? Rowan released Nami's slender hand and smiled. Then, without waiting for her reply, he turned and walked out of the ballroom. Doesn't seem like another thief, strange. Nami thought to herself, watching Rowan's retreating figure. But it was obvious that this young man, like her, had boarded this ship with a specific purpose in mind. However, Nami didn't have time to ponder it further, the window for action was brief and wouldn't wait. Nami quickly ripped off her elegant dress, revealing her practical thief's attire underneath. She carefully observed the members of the Alvida pirates who were already starting to board the liner. Waiting until all the pirates from the enemy ship had charged onto the deck, Nami produced a grappling hook, and with practiced skill, swung herself across the gap towards the Alvida pirates' now relatively empty vessel. Luffy's barrel, found it. Rowan casually tossed the lifeless body of a pirate grunt aside and looked towards the interior of the captured liner. After overwhelming the ship, the Alvida pirates had rounded up the wealthy passengers, the captain, and the crew, placing them under guard. They then began ransacking the vessel for anything valuable. This particular pirate grunt had the misfortune of running into Rowan. Possessing beast strength, Rowan had dealt with him easily. Trait, barrel, the barrel containing Monkey D. Luffy. A trait indicator glowed, originating from a secluded storage room nearby. The description was simple and direct. Rowan started walking towards that room. Chapter 2, Golden Legendary. Inside the hijacked liner, in a secluded storage room, a short, pink-haired kid wearing thick glasses, looking utterly terrified, was pushing a large wooden barrel. He was stopped by 3 pirate grunts, one skinny, one fat, one dark-skinned. Well now, look what the coward dragged in. Something useful for once, huh, Kobe? We were getting kinda thirsty. The skinny pirate sneered, a malicious grin spreading across his face. This belongs to the crew's spoils. If Miss Alvida finds out, she'll kill us. Kobe stammered, looking fearfully at the 3 pirates. She won't find out if you don't tell her. Right, Kobe? The dark-skinned pirate grinned, his expression turning threatening. Why yes. Yes, sir. You're absolutely right. Faced with the threat, Kobe immediately put on a fawning, subservient expression. All right, let me crack this thing open. The fat pirate raised his fist, ready to smash the barrel open violently. Crack. The next instant, a pair of fists shot out from inside the barrel, connecting squarely with the fat pirate's chin and knocking him out cold. Ah! Slept great. A boy wearing a straw hat popped out of the barrel, grinning widely and yelling. Who the? The remaining skinny and dark-skinned pirates shouted in shock and anger. Huh? Why's he sleeping on the floor? He'll catch a cold. The straw-hatted boy wondered aloud, looking curiously at the unconscious fat pirate. It's your fault, you idiot. Both pirates snapped, their faces contorting with rage. You little brat. You knew we were pirates, didn't ya? You look in for trouble? The skinny pirate drew his sword, leveling it at the boy. Got any meat? I'm starving. The straw-hatted boy completely ignored him, turning instead to the stunned Kobe. Listen when someone's talking to you. The skinny pirate roared. Fine. Have it your way. Die, brat. The skinny pirate yelled, raising his sword to strike the boy down. The straw-hatted boy turned, just about to react, when suddenly, wham! An immense, terrifying force struck the skinny pirate. He went flying backward instantly, the sickening crunch of shattering bones echoing through the room as he slammed against the bulkhead and fell silent. Why you? The last remaining pirate, the dark-skinned one, stared in absolute terror at the handsome young man who had suddenly appeared. Ah! Kobe watched the scene unfold, paralyzed by fear. A single barefisted strike had silenced that pirate grunt. The sound of his bones breaking was horrifyingly clear and sharp. That kind of power, It was even more terrifying than Miss Alvida with her iron mace. "Who are you? You're pretty strong. Why did you help me?" the straw-hatted boy asked, grinning broadly. "Name's Rowan. I'm a passenger on this ship. These pirates hijacked it, so I'm cleaning them up." Rowan replied with a smile, looking at the legendary Monkey D. Luffy. "Yep. He's real." Then, his gaze shifted to Kobe, who was cowering in the corner like a terrified clown. "Finally. Found him." A slight smile played on Rowan's lips. "Rowan? I'm Monkey D. Luffy. Nice to meet you." Luffy grinned. "Nice to meet you too," Rowan replied, smiling back. Just as Rowan and Luffy were introducing themselves, the last pirate grunt let out a terrified shriek, grabbed his two unconscious comrades, and fled as fast as his legs could carry him. "Oh no. If he goes and gets his buddies, they'll come back and kill you both." Kobe cried out in panic upon seeing the pirate escape. "I'm hungry," Luffy said, completely ignoring Kobe and rubbing his stomach. "I actually brought some food from the party upstairs." "You like meat?" Rowan offered with a smile, pulling out some pre-prepared food. "Meat?" Luffy's eyes lit up like stars as he stared at the food Rowan produced. He immediately began stuffing his face, devouring everything ravenously. "Rowan, you're a really good guy," Luffy mumbled between mouthfuls, grinning. Rowan just chuckled at that. "Read. Traits." A blinding, brilliant golden light flared into existence. Luffy traits: superhuman physique, deep purple, conqueror's haki, unawakened, pale gold, powerful connections, special, sun god, apex gold, gamu gamu fruit, disguise, deep purple, human fruit, mythical zone, model, Nika, unawakened, apex gold, superhuman physique, deep purple, possesses physical capabilities far exceeding ordinary humans. Can rapidly absorb vast amounts of nutrients to strengthen himself. Incredible stamina provides ample fuel for devil fruit abilities. Physique type traits can level up as the owner's body grows stronger. Conqueror's haki, unawakened, pale gold, the disposition of a king, possessed by only one in several million. Cannot be acquired through training. Initial mastery allows the user to overwhelm weaker-willed individuals into unconsciousness with sheer willpower. Further mastery enables basic Conqueror's haki infusion, deep gold. Complete mastery of infusion, combined with sufficient personal presence, allows one to reign as an emperor on the seas. Apex gold, powerful connections, special, possesses one of the strongest networks of relationships in the world. If facing a fatal crisis, has a chance to turn disaster into fortune. If pushed into a truly desperate situation, may randomly trigger one of the following effects: pursuit by Fire Fist Portgas D. Ace at full power, intervention by Hero of the Marines Monkey D. Garp's Fist of Love, arrival of revolutionary leader Monkey D. Dragon, rallying of the entire Red Hair Pirates crew led by Emperor Red-Haired Shanks. Special traits cannot be upgraded. Sun God, Apex Gold, the Sun God of the current era, a warrior who brings hope to the people. As long as people's hope remains, he can rise again stronger than before, fighting on endlessly. Gamu Gamu fruit, disguise, deep purple, human fruit, mythical zone, model, Nika, unawakened, apex gold, appears to be the Parimsha type Gamu Gamu fruit, deep purple, but is actually the legendary devil fruit, the human fruit, mythical zone, model, Nika, apex gold. Golden legendary. Absolutely stacked. What an insanely powerful setup. Even though Rowan had expected something impressive, seeing it laid out like this still made him incredibly envious. And this was Luffy. Just setting out to sea. Compared to other pirates, he was operating on a completely different level. It was almost unfair. Sun God, Apex Gold? Rowan contemplated this trait. It was currently Luffy's only active Apex Gold trait. Other potential Apex Gold traits, like the human fruit, model, Nika itself, or the fully mastered Conqueror's haki infusion, were still dormant. So, the Sun God, Apex Gold, ability, as long as people's hope remains, he can rise again stronger than before, fighting on endlessly. Ah, so that's why he kept getting back up over and over again when fighting Kaido in the original story. Rowan understood now. What a ridiculously broken trait. But when he saw the powerful connections, special trait, even Rowan, who knew the original plot inside and out, almost couldn't keep a straight face. This was the first time Rowan had ever encountered a special trait. Yep, definitely the adventures of a super privileged kid, complete with a summon the entire Red Hair Pirates crew buff. Forget about actually beating Luffy, even if you manage to push him into a corner, if this trait triggered and Garp, Dragon, and Shanks all showed up together. Even Whitebeard in his prime would probably be overwhelmed. However, Rowan's target wasn't Luffy. It was you. You're one of Alvida's crew too, aren't you?" Rowan turned his gaze towards Kobe, the boy who would later be known infamously as the hero, and stated calmly. Chapter 3, Plundering Kobe's Traits. You're one of Alvida's crew too, aren't you?" Rowan looked at Kobe, the clown reviled by countless people, later known as the hero. He thought inwardly. Read. Traits. Kobe traits: navigation, white, conqueror's hockey, unawakened, pale gold, faction betrayal, special, faction fortune, apex gold. Even though he'd half expected it, Rowan cursed silently. A special trait, another damn special trait. One special, one pale gold, and one apex gold. And that apex gold trait was already active? Basically the same treatment as Luffy. Was this clown the original author's golden boy or something? The threshold for an apex gold combat-related trait was typically an ability on par with an admiral's strength, or potential destined to reach at least admiral level in the future. Of course, non-combat traits, like Nami's navigation, deep purple, or climate sense, pale gold, operated on a different scale, which meant possessing an apex gold combat potential trait essentially guaranteed becoming a top-tier powerhouse, at least admiral level, down the line. But Kobe? Him? Did he even deserve that? And this pathetic excuse for a pirate actually possessed conqueror's hockey? The disposition of a king? Looking at Kobe, with his thick glasses and utterly cowardly demeanor, Rowan felt a surge of disgust. He quickly reviewed the trait descriptions. Navigation, white, basic navigation skills, suitable for sailing in relatively calm waters. Conqueror's hockey, unawakened, pale gold, the disposition of a king, possessed by only one in several million. Cannot be acquired through training. Initial mastery allows the user to overwhelm weaker-willed individuals into unconsciousness with sheer willpower. Faction betrayal, special, at a critical moment, will commit an act of betrayal, causing significant losses to their affiliated faction. Special traits cannot be upgraded. Faction fortune, apex gold, when an iconic powerhouse of the user's affiliated faction falls, their fortune or legacy will transfer to the user, greatly increasing their strength. Requires being near the target when they fall. Reading the descriptions, Rowan decided to retract his earlier question about Kobe being the author's golden boy. This piece of trash was definitely the author's goddamn favorite. No wonder. No wonder this clown, despite being utterly pathetic, could somehow become the so-called next-generation marine hero. No wonder when Garp met his end on Hikinazu Island, this clown Kobe inexplicably powered up so drastically. It was all because of this faction fortune, apex gold trait. This clown basically absorbed all of Garp's marine hero legacy to boost himself. Falls didn't necessarily mean death, just the definitive end of their era on the seas. As long as Kobe was within range when it happened, he could snatch their fortune. Luffy's power-up on Onigashima, even with his sun god, apex gold trait, at least came after Kaido beat him senseless with that club multiple times. But Kobe? Thanks to faction fortune, apex gold, he just needed to be nearby when an iconic figure from his side fell, and bam, massive power boost. Combine that with the faction betrayal, special trait. It was practically designed to work together. Rowan finally understood. No wonder this clown had the gall to jump out and try to stop Akainu during the Summit War. And no wonder Akainu, despite his ruthless personality, actually wasted time listening to this clown's whining, delaying things significantly. He was being influenced by the trait. Faction betrayal, special, causes significant losses to their affiliated faction at a critical moment. From the Marines' perspective, that delay allowed the Red Hair pirates to arrive, enabled Luffy's successful escape, and let the remnants of the Whitebeard pirates withdraw. Weren't those massive losses? And later on, it was because of this same clown, Kobe, that the era of the marine hero, Monkey D. Garp, came to a definitive end. And then Kobe used his faction fortune, apex gold trait to absorb that legacy and strengthen himself. Back when Rowan was still on Earth reading this unfold, he cursed the original author's entire family line more times than he could count. But now, for Rowan, the stronger Kobe's traits were, the better. Rowan glared at Kobe, a sharp glint in his eyes. What? You're one of them too? Luffy asked, still munching on the food Rowan gave him, looking over at Kobe. I am, but there's a reason, Kobe stammered hesitantly. If you're part of Alvida's crew, then stay down. Rowan had no time to listen to this clown's excuses. He lashed out with a powerful kick, fueled by his beast strength, knocking Kobe unconscious instantly. Rowan. He wasn't even fighting back. Why'd you kick him? Luffy asked, swallowing his food as he looked at the unconscious Kobe. Because he betrayed his crewmates. Rowan stated seriously, looking directly at Luffy. Luffy's personality wasn't exactly that of a naive saint, he just generally didn't attack people who couldn't fight back. That was probably Shanks's influence. Betrayed his crewmates. Luffy blinked. That's right. He's part of Alvida's crew, yet he warned us about them. Betraying your comrades like that, it's the most despicable thing you can do on the seas. Comrades are precious people you should be able to entrust your life to. Rowan declared firmly. Whether Kobe was forced into Alvida's crew or not didn't matter. Right now, his faction was the Alvida Pirates. On the surface, he acted weak and subservient, doing Alvida's bidding. But secretly, he was constantly plotting to betray them and join the Marines. Yet, even after joining the Marines, he'd still backstab them occasionally, causing significant losses to their faction. He was the ultimate clown. Among the Marines, a KNU might be disliked by many for his absolute justice. But a KNU wasn't a clown. A powerful person could be evil, bad, or extreme, but they absolutely couldn't be a clown. Kobe's very existence seemed designed purely to disgust people. Oh, I see. Luffy nodded in complete agreement upon hearing Rowan's passionate words about comrades. After all, Rowan had given him lots of food, including meat, when he was starving. And Rowan's understanding of what comradeship meant resonated deeply with Luffy. As for Kobe, at this point, Luffy had only just met him. Thanks to Rowan's intervention, they hadn't even exchanged more than a couple of sentences. Luffy's earlier question was purely due to Shanks's influence, not attacking the defenseless. Now that he understood Rowan's reason for attacking, Luffy almost felt like applauding. Guys who betray their comrades were exactly the type of people Luffy wanted to punch the most. Plunder. Rowan focused his gaze on the unconscious Kobe, his eyes flashing. To plunder a trait, the target needed to be in this unconscious state. Do you think a clown like you deserves to possess traits like these? Gimme that. VMM. Visible only to Rowan, Kobe's traits flowed out and were absorbed into his own body. Success. A grin spread across Rowan's face. Rowan traits: Navigation, White, Beast Strength, Blue, Conqueror's Hockey, Unawakened, Pale Gold, Faction Fortune, Apex Gold. Talk about an upgrade. A massive upgrade. Before, Rowan only had the single Blue Beast Strength trait. Now, he instantly gained 1 Pale Gold and 1 Apex Gold trait. As for the Faction Betrayal Special trait, Rowan naturally left it behind. Like he'd thought earlier, a strong person could be evil, bad, or extreme, but never a clown. That trait was purely disgusting. With the strongest trait system, Rowan didn't need to rely on such clownish abilities to gain power. Besides, special traits couldn't be used to upgrade other traits, making it useless to him anyway. The Navigation, White, trait, however, might still have some minor use out on the sea. First time plunder of a gold tier trait detected. Reward granted, Conqueror's Hockey, Pale Gold, has been awakened. A notification screen, visible only to Rowan, materialized before him. An unexpected bonus. Nice. Rowan's eyes gleamed with anticipation. Chapter 4, a collection of super traits. Check. Traits. Rowan thought, feeling energized as he looked at his newly awakened Conqueror's Hockey trait. Rowan traits: Navigation, White, Beast Strength, Blue, Conqueror's Hockey, Pale Gold, Faction Fortune, Apex Gold. Conqueror's Hockey, Pale Gold, initial mastery of Conqueror's Hockey. Can be precisely controlled to overwhelm weaker-willed individuals into unconsciousness. The weak do not even possess the right to look directly upon a king. Rowan closed his eyes, sensing a formidable, controllable power within him. With just a thought, he could unleash this power, causing the weak to faint instantly. He hadn't expected such a reward for acquiring his first gold trait. Not only had his Conqueror's Hockey awakened, but he'd also skipped the 2 years Luffy spent training with Rayleigh to control it in the original story. He could already use his Conqueror's Hockey with precision. When Conqueror's Hockey first awakens, like Luffy's initial bursts in the story, it's uncontrollable, an indiscriminate wave of pressure affecting friend and foe alike. Only after dedicated training can it be precisely controlled to avoid affecting allies. This was the level Luffy reached after training with the Dark King Rayleigh for 2 years. However, since both stages primarily involved using Hockey to intimidate the weak into unconsciousness, the trait itself hadn't undergone a qualitative change, it remained Pale Gold level. Only by evolving further, reaching the stage where Conqueror's Hockey could be preliminarily infused into attacks, would it evolve into a Deep Gold trait. That was the level Yamato displayed in the original story. A Deep Gold combat trait typically corresponds to the strength level of a 4 Emperor's commander or an admiral candidate, or the potential to definitely reach that level. Although Rowan's Conqueror's Hockey could currently only knock out the weak, in the East Blue, there was virtually no one who could remain conscious when faced with precisely controlled Conqueror's Hockey. It was more than sufficient for now. Possessing Conqueror's Hockey meant Rowan now held the ticket to becoming one of the truly top-tier powerhouses on East Seas. Once he fully mastered Conqueror's Hockey infusion and possessed sufficient presence, kingly disposition, it would upgrade to an Apex Gold trait, allowing him to reign as an emperor on the seas. The so-called Four Emperors, Admiral level. Furthermore, because infused Conqueror's Hockey attacks were so overwhelmingly powerful, their sheer offensive capability surpassed even that of admirals who couldn't use the technique. A full power strike from such a peak individual could overwhelm Four Emperors commanders or admiral candidates, who couldn't even withstand a single blow. Below the level of emperors and admirals, all are mere ants. Fortunately, Rowan had already secured his pass to reach that level. With the strongest trait system at his disposal, Rowan was confident that fully mastering infused Conquerors was only a matter of time. Ah, that hit the spot. At that moment, Luffy finished devouring all the food Rowan had given him, patted his belly, and grinned widely. With his superhuman physique, deep purple trait, that amount of food was naturally far from enough to truly satisfy Luffy's appetite. But that was because the trait allowed him to rapidly digest and absorb massive amounts of nutrients to strengthen himself, enabling his astonishing eating capacity. To simply stop feeling hungry, however, the food had been sufficient. "Hey, Rowan, are you a pirate?" Luffy asked, looking at him. "Not yet. I'm just a passenger on this ship," Rowan replied honestly, not bothering to hide it. "Then how about it? Wanna join my crew? Be my nakama?" Luffy grinned. Rowan had already demonstrated considerable strength. But Luffy didn't choose his crewmates based solely on strength. What truly made Luffy decide to invite Rowan was his earlier speech about comrades. Because of Shanks's influence, Luffy valued his comrades above all else. Rowan's words had resonated deeply with him. "Oh, so you're a pirate too?" Rowan asked, pretending not to know, a smile playing on his lips. "Just as planned. He invited me." Preparing the meat beforehand and giving that speech about comrades definitely worked. Not only did it prevent any issues regarding Kobe, but it also significantly boosted Luffy's opinion of him. So, should he accept the invitation from this future emperor, the current sun god? Rowan's eyes flickered thoughtfully. "Yep. I'm the man who's gonna be king of the pirates," Luffy declared, his mouth stretching into that infectious, signature grin, teeth bared, invitation detected from Monkey D. Luffy. Accepting allows equipping traits from affiliated crew members. Upon acceptance, the affiliated faction for faction fortune, Apex Gold, will be updated to Pirate Faction. A notification screen, visible only to Rowan, appeared before him. This made Rowan blink instinctively, thinking he must have misread it. After carefully rereading and confirming he hadn't made a mistake, a flash of genuine surprise and delight crossed Rowan's eyes, despite all the high-tier traits he'd already acquired. What an incredible, unexpected bonus. It would be a lie to say Rowan wasn't extremely envious of Luffy's traits. It was arguably one of the most potent potential combinations in the entire One Piece world. But actually plundering them, that was impossible. Even though this was Luffy just starting out, before awakening Nika's power, and his Gamu Gamu fruit, without Gear Second and other developed techniques, was only at the deep purple level, meaning he could skillfully use its basic properties. Luffy was still likely too much for the current Rowan, who only had beast strength and a basic Conqueror's Hockey blast. After all, Luffy also possessed the disposition of a king. The chances of knocking him out with just a Hockey blast were slim. Besides, even if Rowan somehow won, could he, still relatively weak and undeveloped, possibly handle the inevitable retaliation from Garp, Dragon, and red-haired Shanks? As the saying goes, a wise man doesn't stand under a crumbling wall. There were plenty of other ways to acquire powerful traits without putting himself in such immediate, overwhelming danger. But now, things were different. He hadn't expected the system could allow equipping traits from fellow crew members. By joining the Straw Hat crew, he could potentially access Luffy's incredible traits. And the faction fortune, Apex Gold, trade worked just as Rowan suspected. Becoming a pirate would align it with the pirate faction. This meant that whenever iconic figures of the pirate faction met their end, as long as Rowan was present, he could potentially absorb their fortune and significantly boost his own power. The most iconic figures in the pirate faction were naturally the Four Emperors. And arguably, the Seven Warlords of the Sea, though nominally affiliated with the world government, mostly operated their own pirate domains and possessed legitimate rights to plunder. They likely counted as part of the pirate faction too. And what faster way was there to eventually confront the emperors, warlords, and other iconic figures of the pirate faction than by joining the Straw Hat crew? Whether it was equipping Luffy's super traits or positioning himself to benefit from the fall of major pirate figures via his faction fortune, Apex Gold, trait, joining the Straw Hats was clearly the optimal choice. Besides, Luffy himself was quite admirable. Rowan had already considered joining the Straw Hats as a viable option anyway. Since Rowan wasn't fully developed yet, the Grand Line still held uncertainties. Traveling with the main protagonist crew offered the safest path for him to grow stronger steadily. And now, with such a massive benefit waiting for him, there was no need for further hesitation. Alright then. Looking forward to working with you, Luffy. Rowan extended his right hand towards Luffy, his smile radiating genuine brilliance. Looking at Luffy, it was as if Rowan could already see those amazing super traits slowly becoming his own. Naturally, his smile was incredibly bright. Kobe traits plus Monkey D. Luffy's traits. The future is certainly looking exciting. Shishi. Looking forward to it too, Rowan. Luffy grinned back just as brightly. Rowan was his very first crewmate. Chapter 5, Shining Conqueror's Hockey, detected acceptance of Monkey D. Luffy's invitation. You are now a member of the Straw Hat Pirates, Faction Fortune, Apex Gold, Faction updated to Pirate Faction. Traits from Straw Hat Pirate members can now be equipped. Currently available target, Straw Hat Captain, Monkey D. Luffy. Available traits for equipping, Superhuman Physique, Deep Purple, Sun God, Apex Gold, Gamu Gamu Fruit, Disguise, Deep Purple, Equip. After Rowan confirmed his acceptance of Luffy's invitation, the notification screen, visible only to him, appeared. Very user-friendly, the strongest trait system displayed the 3 equipable traits from Luffy, each with an Equip Now option next to it. The Powerful Connections special trait couldn't be equipped, as it stemmed from Luffy's unique background and relationships. However, as Luffy's comrade, Rowan would still benefit indirectly from it, so it didn't really matter. Rowan thought for a moment, then mentally selected yes for Superhuman Physique, Deep Purple, and Sun God, Apex Gold. He chose not to equip the Gamu Gamu Fruit, Disguise, Deep Purple. Before awakening into the Human Fruit, Mythical Zone, model, Nika, the standard Gamu Gamu Fruit was just average among Perimsha types. To draw out significant power from it required developing techniques like Gear 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. And based on information from the original story, using those gears consumed the user's lifespan. For Rowan, who could simply plunder the abilities of others as traits, the trade-off wasn't worth it. Later, once Luffy awakened and gained Nika's power, Rowan could just equip the Nika ability directly. That ridiculously broken Nika exclusive power of imagination, that was the true strength of the fruit. After Rowan made his selections, 2 new traits appeared on his status. Rowan traits, Navigation, White, Beast Strength, Blue, Conqueror's Hockey, Pale Gold, Faction Fortune, Apex Gold, Superhuman Physique, Deep Purple, Equipping. Vertical Bar, Sun God, Apex Gold, Equipping. Vertical Bar. Simple and clear. However, compared to direct plundering, the progress bars for equipping were definitely slow. The Superhuman Physique, Deep Purple, was okay. After a short while, the bar had visibly moved, at least slightly. But the Sun God, Apex Gold? That progress bar hadn't budged at all, at least, not noticeably to Rowan's eyes. Well, it made sense. It was an Apex Gold trait, after all. Equipping it completely would surely take a long time. Fortunately, Rowan had now joined the Straw Hat crew. He had plenty of time to let the equipping process run. He wasn't in a rush. Being able to equip them at all was infinitely better than just staring helplessly at Luffy's powerful traits, unable to plunder them at his current level. Sooner or later, these traits would belong to Rowan anyway. He could test things out later, see if there were ways to speed up the equipping process. Alright. Let's set sail. First, we need to find a boat. Mine got swallowed by that giant whirlpool, Luffy said, adjusting his straw hat with a grin. Having found his first crewmate, Luffy was in an excellent mood. If we find the boat, I actually know some basic navigation, Rowan replied with a smile. This was precisely why Rowan had bothered plundering Kobe's navigation, white, trait. Rowan hadn't forgotten that in the original story, before Nami joined as their navigator, Luffy basically just drifted aimlessly. And in the story, it was Kobe the clown who used his basic navigation skills to guide Luffy to find Zoro. Now that Rowan had dealt with Kobe, he naturally needed to take that trait to temporarily fill the role of the Straw Hat Pirate's navigator. You're a navigator too? That's great. It's really great that I got you on the crew, Rowan. Luffy exclaimed, genuinely surprised and happy. It's just basic navigation, really. I wouldn't call myself a proper navigator. It's fine for sailing in calm waters like the Four Blues, but my skills aren't good enough for the Grand Line. Luffy, you want to become king of the pirates, right? You definitely have to go to the Grand Line. Rowan said with a smile. Of course. You have to conquer the Grand Line to become king of the pirates. I promised someone. Luffy declared, holding his straw hat in his hand, his eyes filled with reminiscence. Rowan knew Luffy was referring to his promise with the Emperor, red-haired Shanks. In that case, finding a navigator who can handle the Grand Line is absolutely necessary. Rowan stated, the image of a certain beautiful woman he danced with not long ago flashing through his mind. Shishishi. Crewmates and stuff, of course I'll find more. I'll definitely find them. Luffy plopped his straw hat back on his head, laughing optimistically. Crash. Just then, a figure crashed through the deck ceiling from above, landing heavily right in front of Rowan and Luffy with the force of a wild boar. So you're the brats causing trouble for my crew, huh? A monstrously ugly creature, barely resembling a human, wielding a giant iron mace, snarled, revealing a cavernous mouth. Above the shattered hole in the deck, numerous pirate grunts peered down. Doesn't look like pirate hunters, Zoro. Alvida sneered after scanning Luffy and Rowan, her grotesque mouth twisting into a vicious grin. Zoro? Luffy looked puzzled. Kobe. You useless waste of space. Are you still alive down there? Alvida bellowed down at the motionless Kobe lying nearby. Getting no response, her boar-like face contorted with annoyance. She didn't care if Kobe was alive or dead, she was furious that she wasn't hearing his usual fawning praises. Who's this rude old lady? Luffy asked curiously, pointing directly at Alvida. The Alvida pirate crew members on the deck above froze in terror, too scared to speak. Ha ha ha. That's Iron Mace Alvida. She has a bounty of 5 million Bailey. Rowan couldn't help but chuckle at Luffy's bluntness. Read. Traits. He then focused on Alvida. Alvida traits, Iron Mace wielder, blue, super thick skin, blue. Iron Mace wielder, blue, can effortlessly wield an incredibly heavy iron mace that ordinary people cannot lift. Super thick skin, blue, even falling from a 10-story building, the owner's fat, thicker than a wild boar's hide, allows them to emerge unharmed. Seeing Alvida's traits, Rowan couldn't suppress the smirk forming on his lips. Super thick skin. Yep, pretty accurate description. Luffy's comment, combined with Rowan's laughter, was the ultimate insult in Alvida's eyes. Die. Both of you damn brats. Alvida roared, raising her massive iron mace to crush Rowan and Luffy. Whoosh. Using his beast strength, Rowan pushed off the floor powerfully. He and Luffy leaped up through the hole Alvida had just made, landing smoothly on the main deck. My name's not damn brat. It's Monkey D. Luffy. I'm a pirate. Nice to meet you. Luffy announced with a grin. Who cares what a little brat like you is called? Alvida charged up after them. What a scary old lady. Luffy commented with a sigh. Brat. Alvida's eyes were completely bloodshot with rage now. Her pirate grunts knew this was their cue to act. If they didn't, an enraged Alvida would surely bash their heads in with her mace later. With battle cries, they swarmed towards Luffy and Rowan, intending to overwhelm them with numbers. Hey! Ganging up on us isn't fair. Luffy shouted, preparing to fight back using his Gamu Gamu abilities. Leave this to me. Rowan reached out, stopping Luffy. A dark, crimson-black light suddenly flared within his eyes. Chapter 6, I will stand above all. Sky Sovereign. Rowan. Can you handle all these guys? Luffy asked with concern, watching Rowan step forward to face the Alvida pirates alone. Don't worry. Dealing with trash like this? My abilities are way more efficient than yours for this, Luffy. Rowan replied, a confident smirk playing on his lips. The dark, crimson-black light in his eyes seemed to shimmer faintly. Trash? You got some nerve, brat. Think you're pirate hunter Zoro or something? Alvida snarled, veins bulging on her forehead. Combined with her boar-like features, she looked even more grotesque. Right now, pirate hunter Zoro's reputation among East Blue pirates was formidable. Even pirates with bounties in the tens of millions were wary of him. Zoro? Of course not. But Rowan's eyes suddenly sharpened. The next instant, the terrifying crimson-black light within them solidified, erupting outwards with insane ferocity. Remember this name, Sky Sovereign Rowan. The man who will, in the future, stand above all. Boom. Conqueror's Hockey. Exploded outwards. Crackling arcs of crimson-black energy roared through the air. Every single member of the Alvida pirates caught in this terrifying blast, including Alvida herself, froze with looks of utter horror. The next moment, their eyes rolled back into their heads, and they collapsed, unconscious. Thump. 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 Bodies littered the deck. The entire Alvida pirate crew was wiped out in an instant. Under the pressure of Conqueror's hockey, the weak don't even have the right to look directly upon a king. The crimson-black light in Rowan's eyes gradually subsided. Sayuji. Amazing, Luffy stared, jaw dropped, as Rowan took out the entire Alvida crew, including that rude old lady, with just a look. His eyes went wide, and he started yelling excitedly. Got to admit, Luffy really knew how to provide positive reinforcement for his comrades. Seeing Luffy's exaggerated amazement, combined with the feeling of unleashing Conqueror's hockey, for the first time, left Rowan feeling pretty damn good. But I feel like I've seen that power before. When I was little, something like this happened too. Luffy mused after his initial burst of excitement, a thoughtful, far-away look in his eyes. He remembered when he and his brothers were captured by some thugs. Just when he was in danger, the thugs had suddenly fainted. That's called Conqueror's hockey. Under its influence, anyone with a weak will instantly passes out. Rowan explained calmly, looking at Luffy. Luffy was likely remembering the time Fire Fist Portgas d'Ace first awakened his own Conqueror's hockey to protect young Luffy from danger. But afterwards, Ace, disgusted that this power came from the bloodline he despised, that of the Pirate King, Gol D. Roger, completely sealed it away. Rowan wouldn't judge Ace's actions. He wasn't Ace, he hadn't lived through Ace's suffering. He wouldn't stand on high from an outsider's perspective and casually say, "It's foolish not to use the power you have." After all, for Ace, his mother died because the Marines were relentlessly hunting Roger's bloodline. And throughout his childhood, because of that same bloodline, he was shunned by everyone, treated as someone who shouldn't even exist. In modern terms from Rowan's old world, it was a classic case of childhood trauma stemming from his family background. Ace just wanted to escape that influence. But if he hadn't sealed away his Conqueror's hockey, given Ace's potential, he likely wouldn't have met the tragic end he did in the original story. Ultimately, Ace just didn't have the disposition, the kingly spirit, required. However, for Rowan, Ace's choice, and the upcoming Summit War, were extremely advantageous. Whitebeard, the man known as the world's strongest man, was undoubtedly the current figurehead of the pirate faction. When his era ended, how much stronger would Rowan become thanks to his faction fortune, Apex Gold, trait? Rowan eagerly anticipated finding out. Furthermore, Rowan was absolutely determined to acquire Whitebeard's tremor fruit. The difference between top-tier devil fruits and garbage ones was greater than the difference between humans and pigs. That early notion, likely born from insufficient information, of there are no useless devil fruits, only useless users, had long been debunked by later events in the story. The inherent potential cap of each devil fruit ability was clearly defined. A fruit's power depended fundamentally on the fruit itself, supplemented at most by the user's stamina and physique, since activating abilities consumes the user's energy. The fact that Sabo, immediately after eating the Flare fruit, could wield its power at a level equal to, or even greater than, Ace's was clear proof. But for any given devil fruit user, their power ceiling, based solely on the fruit, was fixed the moment they ate it. Further growth relied on mastering hockey and other skills. A powerful devil fruit, upon being eaten, could instantly elevate someone to at least a level of a warlord. The reason Whitebeard was called the man capable of destroying the world was solely due to the power of the tremor fruit. Rowan had no intention of letting Blackbeard snatch such a supreme devil fruit. The Summit War, Rowan absolutely had to participate. Starting now, he needed to get stronger, fast, so he could claim the biggest prize during that pivotal conflict. A determined glint shone in Rowan's eyes. But Rowan, when you said you're gonna stand above all, that sounded really cool. Sky Sovereign Rowan. Shishishi. That's a great nickname, Luffy exclaimed. At this point, he didn't grasp the true significance of Conqueror's hockey. He was far more interested in Rowan's declaration. The Pirate King's first mate, the man known as the right hand of the Pirate King, his epithet was Dark King. Since you aim to be the Pirate King, I figured Sky Sovereign would be a fitting title for me, as your comrade. Rowan explained with a smile. It wasn't that Rowan was being overly dramatic just for show. This was his debut on the world stage, essentially. And everyone knew, in the world of One Piece, the shutters of the World Economic News Agency's cameras were everywhere. Rowan naturally wanted a relatively cool-sounding epithet for himself. Otherwise, who knew what kind of ridiculous nickname those marine guys might slap on him later? Rowan's method for choosing was simple. The Pirate King's right hand, Silver's Rayleigh, was the Dark King, Mio, Underworld King/Pluto. The three ancient weapons in the One Piece world were Pluton, Mio, Underworld King, Poseidon, Keo, Sea King, and Uranus, Tenno, Sky King, Heavenly King. Dark King/Pluton was taken by Rayleigh. Sea King/Poseidon, for someone else. That left Sky King/Uranus, Tenno. It sounded good. Sky Sovereign was a suitable adaptation. His declaration about standing above all in the future also served as a neat explanation for the epithet's origin. Furthermore, this was also a test for Rowan, detected increase in bond with equipping target. Trait equipping progress increased, a line of text appeared on the notification screen, making the corner of Rowan's mouth curve upward slightly. Just as expected. Chapter 7, Plenty of Time for Nami later. Oh, I see. Sky Sovereign, that really is a cool title. Shishishi. Luffy beamed after hearing Rowan's explanation about the epithet. Becoming the Pirate King was Luffy's entire goal for setting out to sea. Having his very first crewmate acknowledge his dream so strongly naturally made Luffy incredibly happy. Detected increase in bond with equipping target. Trait equipping progress increased. Seeing the notification only he could see, Rowan's eyes gleamed. Just as I thought. There are ways to speed up the trait equipping process. Bonds, huh? Very fitting for this kind of world. Noticing the significant jump in the progress bar for superhuman physique, deep purple, and the fact that the sun god, apex gold, bar had finally started moving, Rowan allowed himself a small smile. Choosing the epithet Sky Sovereign wasn't just because it fit the One Piece world and appealed to Rowan's own aesthetic sensibilities from Earth. More importantly, using the reasoning behind the title was Rowan's way of testing the trait equipping speed. Luffy's dream was to become Pirate King. Rowan's explanation naturally strengthened their connection. And since Luffy was the target for equipping traits, Rowan needed to test if improving their relationship would accelerate the process. Now, it seemed clear that it worked. Hey. Worth making that slightly dramatic speech. Rowan scanned the sky but didn't spot any new COO birds. Then again, in the One Piece world, news coups were practically omnipresent. Rowan, who hadn't awakened observation hockey yet, couldn't pinpoint their exact location anyway. But he'd know soon enough from the next news report whether his chosen epithet had spread across the seas. After all, when it came to Conqueror's hockey, the president of the World Economic News Agency, Morgans, definitely knew its significance. Despite some later complaints about too many Conqueror's hockey users appearing in the New World, if you actually counted, fewer than 20 individuals in the entire original story were confirmed to possess it. And those weren't even all active in the same era. Possessing Conqueror's hockey truly meant having the disposition of a king. Because awakening Conquerors virtually guaranteed the ability to learn both observation and armament hockey, and ensured the user could train their hockey to a reasonably high level at minimum. In other words, simply awakening Conqueror's hockey meant the user inherently possessed the potential for at least warlord-level strength. For a Conqueror's hockey user to emerge in the East Blue, that news definitely had enough weight for Morgans to make a story out of it. Anyway, now that he'd joined the main crew, Luffy's powerful connections. Special, Drake Mentron didn't need to worry too much about attracting unbeatable pirate or marine pursuit before he was strong enough. So, there was no real need for Rowan to keep a low profile. That concept of disposition or presence mentioned in the story was likely a crucial factor in hockey's strength. Therefore, acting humbly or staying low-key was probably detrimental for aspiring powerhouses in the One Piece world. Look at Blackbeard, hiding his ambition on Whitebeard's ship before getting the dark fruit. Because he played the part of a harmless underling for too long, his own kingly disposition withered, to the point where he actually considered just living out his days on Whitebeard's ship. In the One Piece power system, pretending to be weak to ambush the strong, playing the pig to eat the tiger, ultimately just turned you into a real pig. Only by building a fearsome reputation, using the blood of other strong opponents as stepping stones, could one reach the pinnacle of this world. Alright, we took care of these guys. Let's hurry up and find a boat so we can set sail again. Luffy grinned, looking at the Alvida pirates littering the deck. Swish. Boom. 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 Just as Luffy finished speaking, cannonballs slammed into the deck of Alvida's pirate ship. In the distance, marine warships were rapidly approaching. Marines. As pirates, we gotta make a quick getaway. Let's go, Rowan. Luffy exclaimed. He was certainly familiar with marine ships, his own grandpa commanded vessels much larger than these. Got it. Rowan smirked slightly. He had no intention of plundering Alvida's super thick-skinned trait. Fat held absolutely zero interest for him. Phew. What a haul. Nami muttered, having successfully looted all of the Alvida pirates' treasure. She loaded the heavy sacks onto a small boat. Spotting the approaching marine warships in the distance, Nami prepared to make her own escape. Whoosh! Splash! Just then, a small lifeboat launched itself off the deck of the hijacked liner and crashed into the sea nearby, sending up a wave. Whoa! Nami shielded herself from the spray and looked over. On board the lifeboat were the boy in the straw hat and a familiar figure. Why, you're... Nami's eyes widened. Isn't that the guy from the liner earlier? Looks like the young lady thief achieved her goal. Rowan commented with a smile, observing Nami, now out of her dress and in her thief attire, clutching the bags filled with Alvida's treasure. Nami instinctively hugged the treasure sacks tighter. You know her, Rowan? Luffy asked curiously. We crossed paths briefly. Rowan replied casually. Oh, okay. But we gotta hurry up and get out of here. Luffy shouted, seeing the marine ships getting closer. Set sail. Well then, until we meet again, Ms. Thief. My name's Rowan. Rowan said, looking at Nami. He knew this wasn't the time for extended conversation. Besides, Nami's next destination was the same as theirs. Pushing too hard now might backfire. Without waiting for Nami's reply, Rowan used his navigation, white, straight to steer the small boat, quickly heading away from the approaching marine vessels. Rowan? Nami murmured the name, then quickly steered her own boat away using her superior navigation skills. As for Rowan's until we meet again. Nami didn't pay it much mind. The sea's enormous. What are the chances of running into him again? Ha 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 ha. That was fun. Luffy laughed heartily after they had completely lost the marine warships. Hey, Rowan, that pirate hunter the rude old lady mentioned, do you know anything about him? Luffy asked. I've heard the name. Supposedly a crazy strong swordsman. They call him a demon in human form. Rowan replied with a smile. A demon? Sounds tough. Luffy grinned excitedly. What? Interested in him? Rowan asked, feigning ignorance. Kobe, that disgusting clown, had been removed from the equation by Rowan. So, regarding Zoro, Rowan himself would need to nudge the plot forward. But without Kobe around, Rowan didn't mind playing the role of plot mover for a bit. I wanna be king of the pirates, so I gotta go to the Grand Line. Besides you, Rowan, I need more strong crewmates. If that guy's any good, I wanna ask him to join. Luffy declared with his trademark grin. Well then, let's go check him out. I hear he's currently in Shell's town. Rowan said, pulling out a sea chart he had prepared earlier. He'd acquired the chart from the luxury liner. Alright. Course set. Let's go, Rowan. Luffy was fired up. Roger that. Rowan smirked, equally interested. Roronoa Zoro. I wonder what kind of traits worth equipping the man known as the true heart of the Straw Hat Crew possesses. Chapter 8, Making the Stagnant Seas Boil Again. World Economic News Agency Headquarters. News. Isn't there any major news worth reporting? Morgans, the president of the World Economic News Agency, who usually appeared in his bird fruit model, albatross hybrid form, was extremely agitated right now. Damn this balance. Damn the world government. Damn the 7 warlords. Morgans roared, slamming his fist, wing, on the desk. Ever since this cursed warlord system was fully established, creating the so-called 3 great powers balance between Marine headquarters, the 7 warlords, and the 4 emperors, the number of significant news stories hadn't just declined, it had practically vanished. Most of the warlords were busy managing their own pirate kingdoms. Granted legitimate plunder rights by the world government, the Marines wouldn't pursue them. And the 4 emperors stayed within their territories in the New World, the Marines wouldn't dare rashly start a war with forces like them either. So, day to day, the Marines mostly just chased small fry pirates who weren't worth mentioning. The big-name pirates with high bounties either became warlords, sought protection under an emperor, or simply vanished from the world stage, living anonymously. This damn tranquil sea was disgustingly dull. That great treasure, the One Piece, how many pirates were still truly chasing it, still holding on to that dream? Morgans was sick and tired of these days without any major news. More news coming in? East Blue? Is there actually news from the weakest? See, that's worth my personal attention? Seeing the incoming data and images, Morgan's interest was instantly piqued when he noted the location. As the world's largest news organization, the World Economic News Agency had an incredibly vast structure. To ensure no major news was missed, Morgans had operatives stationed everywhere, responsible for capturing scoops. While most were deployed along the Grand Line, there were operatives in the 4 Blues as well. When an operative in the 4 Blues captured something newsworthy, it would go through layers of review, moving up the chain of command. For this news to reach his desk meant that after multiple levels of scrutiny, this report from the East Blue was deemed worthy of the personal attention of the World Economic News Agency president himself. This is. Morgans leaped to his feet as he saw the power unleashed by the young man calling himself Sky Sovereign Rowan in the submitted materials. The sequence of numerous photographs combined with the written report created an effect similar to watching a video. Conqueror's hockey. No doubt about it. That's Conqueror's hockey. Morgans felt every cell in his body buzz with excitement. After stagnating for so long, these dull seas had finally produced a newcomer possessing the disposition of a king. The man who will stand above all, calling himself Sky Sovereign. What arrogance! Ha ha ha. Arrogance is good. That's what makes it newsworthy. Morgans burst out laughing. If some ignorant fool who didn't know their place made such a claim and called themselves Sky Sovereign, Morgans would just scoff. Idiots like that popped up every year on these seas, oblivious to their own mortality. But when someone possessing Conqueror's hockey said it, especially a man so young, who could already control it with precision, that was the ambition and disposition of a true king. That was worth reporting. No, this deserved the front page. A massive scoop. The last newcomer who had excited him this much was Fire Fist Portgas D. Ace, the Flare fruit user who had since joined the Whitebeard Pirates and become their 2nd Division commander. Back then, Morgans had harvested quite a few juicy stories from Fire Fist Ace. But damn it, Ace ended up getting recruited by Whitebeard, and the news stream dried up. After that, the seas became disgustingly quiet again. But now, Morgan stared at Rowan's photo, his eyes practically glowing. Conqueror's hockey. And from such a young newcomer who could already control it precisely. Plus, such blatant arrogance. This was even more sensational, more worthy of extensive coverage, than Fire Fist Ace had been initially. And there was more worth reporting. Morgans looked at the name provided in the self-introduction of the kid wearing the straw hat in the report. Monkey D. Luffy, captain of the crew Sky Sovereign Rowan joined. Monkey D? Ha 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 ha. A strange, almost predatory grin spread across Morgan's beak. As the head of the World Economic News Agency, Morgans was all too familiar with that surname. Wasn't that the family name of the marine hero, Monkey D. Garp, and the revolutionary leader, Monkey D. Dragon? Judging by age, this Straw Hat Kid had to be Dragon's son, Garp's grandson. That old geezer Garp, his son becomes the leader of the revolutionaries, and now his grandson sets out to sea as a pirate? And this grandson has a crewmate who awakened Conqueror's hockey and calls himself Sky Sovereign. Isn't that deliberately mirroring the epithet of the Pirate King's right hand, the Dark King Silver's Rayleigh? Is this kid aiming to become the next Pirate King? The grandson of marine hero Monkey D. Garp wants to become the Pirate King? This family, all 3 generations, was certainly interesting. There was so much material here. Absolutely worth extensive coverage. Let's hold off on reporting about the Straw Hat Kid for now. The first priority is Rowan. You eat one bite at a time, big news should be released piece by piece. Morgans had been starved for excitement for far too long. Now that he'd finally snagged a major story, and one that looked like it could provide continuous, developing reports, he needed to grip it tightly and milk it for all it's worth. Compared to the sheer impact of Conqueror's hockey, the Straw Hat Kid's currently demonstrated power wasn't eye-catching enough yet. What was the most important thing in news? Grabbing attention instantly. And what could possibly grab more attention than a newcomer claiming he'll stand above all, calling himself Sky Sovereign, and possessing Conqueror's hockey? Once he had the world's eyes fixed on this, he could follow up with ongoing reports about the crew. Besides, with the Monkey D. name involved, Morgans didn't have to worry too much that excessive hype might attract disaster and get the crew wiped out prematurely, leaving him with no future stories. Garp wouldn't let that happen easily. This kind of news, one he could trumpet loudly and without reservation, he hadn't encountered anything like it in far too long. Morgan's eyes gleamed with avarice. Get this photo distributed worldwide. Spread the name Sky Sovereign Rowan across the globe. Tell all those rotten trash on these seas, those who've lost their dreams and are practically decaying, that a new king is about to be born. These stagnant waters are finally going to boil again. Ha 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 ha. Morgans roared with laughter. On his desk lay a close-up photo of Rowan. In it, Rowan's eyes blazed with overwhelming power, captured at the very instant he unleashed his Conqueror's hockey. Soon, the front-page story featuring Rowan was printed. Beneath the close-up photo of Rowan, the headline screamed in bold type. I will stand above all. Of course, the news of Straw Hat Monkey D. Luffy's debut was included as well, with Morgans making sure to heavily bold the Monkey D. initials. Carried by countless news coups, this report would soon spread throughout the entire world. The long stagnant seas were about to erupt. Chapter 9, limitless devil fruits. Meanwhile, completely unaware that his goal had been achieved and that his front-page story was about to spread across the entire world, Rowan was currently using his navigation. White, skilled to sail with Luffy. Landfall ahead. That's our destination, Shell's Town. Rowan announced, comparing the approaching landmass to his sea chart, a smile gracing his lips. After a tedious journey on the open sea, nothing brought more joy than spotting land. Seeing your actual destination? That doubled the happiness. Thanks to Rowan's advanced preparations, this trip, unlike Luffy's previous solo voyages, didn't involve starving for days. Plus, this stretch of the East Blue was remarkably calm. So, for Rowan, equipped with a navigation white trait, the journey had been relatively smooth. Shishishi. We got here so fast. Guess we really do need a navigator for the Grand Line. Oh, right. And a musician too. Luffy declared enthusiastically. Before Rowan joined, Luffy's entire journey consisted of aimlessly drifting in the small boat he'd brought from Windmill Village. Experiencing the speed and precision of reaching a destination like this just once had gotten Luffy completely hooked. But since Rowan had mentioned his own navigation skills weren't sufficient for the Grand Line, finding a proper navigator naturally moved up Luffy's priority list. Of course, a musician was still essential. A musician, huh? Not a bad idea. Rowan chuckled, amused by Luffy's priorities. Luffy's fixation on having a musician was real. Though, in the original story, the Straw Hats wouldn't get one until they confronted the warlord, Gecko Moria. Rowan had already confirmed through his system during their voyage, although the 7 warlords were nominally affiliated with the world government, they were fundamentally still powerful pirates, belonging to the pirate faction. Within the pirate faction, they were the most prominent figures right below the 4 emperors. Taking down a warlord would also trigger Rowan's faction fortune. Apex Gold trait. If that was the case, then confronting Moria would truly kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Moria's current strength was among the lowest of the warlords, practically a free meal delivered right to their doorstep. But before Moria, there was another troublesome warlord they'd have to deal with. The warlord Sir Crocodile, user of the Logia type sand fruit, Crocodile. Rowan's eyes narrowed slightly. The sand fruit, even among Logia types, was easily a top-tier powerful devil fruit. Acquiring that ability alone, based purely on the fruit's power, guaranteed at least warlord-level strength. Add Haki into the mix, and reaching the level of a 4 emperors commander or admiral candidate would be relatively easy. Of course, Rowan's true ultimate target among Logias was that fruit, the one considered practically invincible even within its own category, the Rumble fruit. Speed, offensive power, destructive range, all rolled into one. A cataclysmic force of nature. A practically perfect devil fruit ability. That was a devil fruit ability Rowan absolutely had to obtain. Through his research into the trait system over the past few days, Rowan had received confirmation he could possess multiple devil fruit abilities. The system could turn devil fruit powers into traits and allow him to plunder them. Each plundered devil fruit ability existed as a separate, distinct trait. Furthermore, because he was turning others' abilities into traits and equipping, using them, rather than directly eating the fruits, Rowan could wield the plundered devil fruit powers without suffering the standard side effects of eating a fruit, like weakness to seawater or inability to swim. And even if he acquired multiple devil fruit abilities, since each power existed as a separate trait, there was no risk of them conflicting and causing him to explode. Considering Blackbeard's unique body structure, which allowed him to contain multiple devil fruit powers, Rowan's system, which converted powers into individual traits and negated the side effects, was arguably far superior. Theoretically, there was no upper limit to the number of devil fruit abilities he could possess. In that case, the sand fruit, the rumble fruit, the tremor fruit, the human fruit, mythical zone, model, Nika. All these powerful devil fruit abilities, he wanted them all. But before that, Rowan needed to focus on strengthening himself as much as possible. After all, in the future, both Crocodile, user of the sand fruit, and Enel, user of the rumble fruit, were arguably defeated largely due to Luffy's protagonist plot armor. Rowan preferred to hold his destiny firmly in his own hands. Besides, unleashing devil fruit powers required immense stamina and a strong physique as fuel. Therefore, traits that enhanced his physical capabilities were what Rowan needed most right now. And conveniently, apart from Luffy, there was another man in the Straw Hat crew destined to possess one of the most formidable physiques on the seas. The pirate hunter, Roronoa Zoro. Rowan steered the small boat towards the shore, looking at the town ahead, Shell's Town, a slight smirk playing on his lips. Weird. Why are the people here so scared when they hear the Marine captain's name? While searching for Zoro, Luffy, being his naturally outgoing self, directly asked the townsfolk for directions. But while their fear upon hearing Zoro's name was understandable, they seemed even more terrified when they heard the name of the local Marine captain, Morgan. Marines aren't always the good guys for civilians. A corrupt Marine can cause even more destruction than some pirates. Rowan commented slowly. Knowing the original story, Rowan understood this was because the Marine captain here, Axe-Hand Morgan, ruthlessly oppressed the townspeople. For ordinary citizens, pirates were naturally detestable. Most pirates weren't like Luffy and his crew, who were, strictly speaking, more like adventurers chasing a dream. However, aside from a few extremely vicious pirates who engaged in wanton murder and pillaging, most pirates primarily harmed civilians through robbery. After all, the more atrocities they committed, the higher their bounty would climb, attracting stronger marine pursuit and drawing the attention of bounty hunters. While robbery was certainly bad, it was nothing compared to someone like Morgan, who abused his power to exploit the people under his command. Or even worse, scum like Captain Nezumi, one of the key figures responsible for allowing Arlong to tyrannize Nami's hometown unchecked. That was a true nightmare. If civilians encountered vicious pirates, they could still seek help from good marines. But if they encountered corrupt marines like these? That was a disaster where calling for help was utterly futile. Rowan, having come from Earth, despised such corrupt individuals the most. As they walked, the two eventually arrived at their destination. The marine base of Shell's town. A man was tied to a crucifixion post in the courtyard. The pirate hunter, Roronoa Zoro. Look, Rowan. That must be the guy. Chapter 10, The Ticket to Becoming a True Monster. Following Luffy, Rowan climbed up the high wall overlooking the marine base courtyard. He looked down at the man tied to the execution post. Though his head was bowed, an almost palpable, beast-like aura radiated from him. For Rowan, who possessed the beast strength blue trait, this aura felt even more intense. Truly worthy of being called a demon in human form even right at the start of his journey. Rowan mentally acknowledged Zoro's presence, then thought inwardly. Check traits. Zoro traits, 3-sword style, deep purple, demonic physique, deep purple, Azura aura, special, conqueror's haki, unawakened, pale gold. 3-sword style. Deep purple, a unique sword style utilizing one sword in each hand, with a third held in the mouth for the killing blow. Possesses biting strength greater than an adult hyena. Demonic physique. Deep purple, the physique of a demon clad in human skin. No matter how extreme the training, no matter how damaged the muscles and bones become, they can fully recover and grow even stronger. Azura aura. Special, a unique, demon god-like power. When imbued into techniques, allows them to unleash strength far exceeding conventional limits. Just as I thought. Zoro does have Conqueror's haki. Rowan nodded, looking at Zoro's Conqueror's haki, unawakened, pale gold, trait. As one of the Straw Hat Crew's main 3 combatants in the original story, arguably second only to Luffy, Zoro was meant to parallel the Pirate King's right hand, the Dark King Silver's Rayleigh. And Zoro's lineage wasn't simple either. Otherwise, how could he possess a power like Azura aura, special, capable of manifesting illusions of 3 heads and 6 arms to wield 9 swords? For someone like Zoro, possessing Conqueror's haki wasn't surprising at all. The Azura aura, special, trait was classified as special because it primarily enhanced the user's own techniques, allowing them to hit harder. Its effectiveness ultimately depended on the user's base strength. However, reading the description for 3-sword style, deep purple, specifically the note about having biting strength greater than an adult hyena, Rowan almost couldn't keep a straight face. But it was true. Zoro's finishing blows invariably came from the sword held in his mouth, his Wado Akamaji, one of the 21 great grade swords. Judging by Zoro's performance in his ultimate attacks, his bite strength was truly astonishing, far beyond what any mere hyena could manage. Currently, Zoro hadn't even mastered the ability to cut steel, Kingo, yet, he was still primarily a swordsman relying on brute force. Thus, his 3-sword style was currently only at the deep purple level, similar to Luffy's Gamu Gamu fruit before developing powerful techniques like Gear 2nd and 3rd. For Rowan, the most crucial trait Zoro possessed was undoubtedly the demonic physique, deep purple, trait. A powerful physique allowing complete recovery and strengthening of muscles and bones, no matter how extreme the training or severe the damage. Rowan's eyes gleamed. No wonder. No wonder Zoro could endure such extreme training regimens without permanent injury. According to official data, Zoro slept only 3 hours a day, spending every other waking moment engaged in brutal training. Any normal person undertaking such a regimen would likely suffer catastrophic muscle and bone failure, leading to death. Yet Zoro not only survived but thrived, his physique developing to monstrous levels. It was all thanks to this demonic physique, Deep Purple, trait. Furthermore, during the raid on Onigashima, Zoro managed to block, albeit momentarily, a combined attack from two emperors, Kaido and Big Mom. That was a joint attack infused with the Conqueror's Haki of two peak emperors. While he only held it off for an instant, the fact remained that he survived, merely suffering shattered bones and torn muscles throughout his body. Anyone else present at that time would likely have been obliterated without a trace. And afterwards, following treatment, Zoro's body actually became stronger, allowing him to defeat King the Wildfire, the lead all-star of the Beast's pirates. While Law's Apop Fruit abilities certainly played a role in his recovery, this demonic physique, Deep Purple, trait was undeniably a key factor. Even with every bone and muscle fiber shattered, he could recover and grow stronger. This trait absolutely had the potential to become gold tier. It was just that Zoro, having only recently set out to sea, hadn't yet developed his physique to its later, formidable state. That's why, for now, it was ranked Deep Purple, similar to Luffy's superhuman physique. Crucially, this demonic physique trait didn't conflict with Luffy's superhuman physique trait at all. In fact, they were perfectly complementary. Luffy's superhuman physique allowed him to consume and absorb nutrients from vast amounts of food that would overwhelm ordinary people, strengthening his body. Zoro's demonic physique allowed for limitless extreme training, strengthening muscles and bones through cycles of damage and repair. With the massive nutritional support provided by the superhuman physique, the recovery process enabled by the demonic physique could potentially be accelerated even further. And those abundant nutrients could fuel even more intense, high-load training facilitated by the demonic physique. Combining these two traits would effectively merge the greatest physical advantages of both Luffy and Zoro into one body. In terms of sheer potential, wouldn't that rival even the monstrous physique of Kaido? No. In terms of potential alone, it might even be comparable to the ultimate natural-born monster, whose physical stats were arguably top-tier from birth, the Emperor, Big Mom. While Big Mom, Charlotte Linlin, might have ranked lower among the emperors in terms of overall combat performance, due to her complacency, obsession with tea parties and having children, and abysmal battle IQ, her base physical stats were undeniably among the most terrifying in the world. As a child, relying solely on her innate monstrous physique, she could severely injure adult giants. Her natural durability even surpassed that of Kaido after eating the fish fruit model, Azure Dragon, a top-tier mythical zone. While the superhuman physique and demonic physique traits individually couldn't compare to Linlin's innate monstrousness, if combined, their potential for limitless growth might actually allow one to eventually rival that natural-born freak of nature. Combining these two traits, it was practically a passport to becoming a true monster. Rowan's eyes shone with intense desire. This trait. I absolutely must obtain it. Of course, the method was simple, get Luffy to recruit Zoro onto the crew. That would naturally allow Rowan to start equipping Zoro's traits. Hey! You too. Just then, Zoro, who had been the object of Rowan and Luffy's scrutiny, slowly lifted his bowed head, revealing a pair of eyes as fierce as a wild beast's. You're annoying. Zoro stated coldly. Chapter 11, An Absolute Man of Steel. Shishishi. He's got personality. If we just untie the ropes, we can let him go, right? Luffy grinned, completely unfazed by Zoro's intense, beast-like stare. Having been frequently tossed into packs of wild beasts for training by his unreliable grandpa Garp since childhood, Luffy was all too familiar with the kind of gaze. Those are the eyes of a wild animal. In fact, Zoro's glare was even sharper than those of the beasts he remembered. Although Luffy hadn't witnessed Zoro's strength yet, just based on that intense gaze, his instincts told him Zoro was strong. Thump. Just then, a ladder appeared against the wall. A little girl climbed up and held a finger to her lips, signaling cutely at Rowan and Luffy. SH. The little girl gestured for caution, then hopped down from the wall and ran towards Zoro. What is it? Zoro asked, his fierce eyes softening considerably as he looked at the approaching girl. His tone, though no longer icy, was still tinged with impatience. Big brother, you must be hungry, right? I brought rice balls. The little girl said, offering a bright smile. She held a carefully wrapped bundle of rice balls close to her chest. It's my first time making them, but I put my heart into it. Kid, you wanna die? Get lost. Zoro replied instantly, his expression unchanging even at the sight of food, despite having had nothing to eat or drink for 20 days. His harsh words were meant to protect her, to avoid implicating her. Even if you don't want to involve the girl, you don't need to push her away like that. A calm voice interjected. Who the hell are you? I told you already, you're annoying. Zoro snapped, his face hardening as he watched Rowan jump down from the wall. This is a child's heartfelt gesture. A child's sincerity is more precious than gold. Rowan said, gently patting the little girl's head reassuringly as she looked crestfallen that Zoro wouldn't eat her rice balls. Rowan definitely didn't want this sweet girl's kindness trampled by that scumbag Helmpo. Shishishi. Well said, Rowan. Luffy declared, hopping down from the wall to join Rowan. Although he had wanted to observe Zoro a bit longer, after all, Luffy's standards for crewmates went beyond just strength, since his nakama had decided to step in. Luffy wouldn't just stand by and watch. Luffy would always fully support his comrades' decisions. You're Zoro, right? Luffy asked, grinning at the tied-up swordsman. Yeah. And who are you guys? Zoro asked, his icy demeanor thawing slightly after hearing Rowan's words, though his tone remained unfriendly. I'm Monkey D. Luffy. The man who's gonna be king of the pirates. Luffy declared proudly, pointing at himself with a grin. Rowan. Luffy's comrade. Rowan added, a slight smile playing on his lips. King of the pirates? Are you an idiot? Zoro deadpanned, his eyebrow twitching as he looked at Luffy. But Rowan, what did you mean? Why did you say Zoro didn't want to involve the little girl? Luffy asked curiously. Simple. Judging by how the townspeople react to the Marines here, the local Marine captain can't be any good. And the name Pirate Hunter Zoro is pretty famous throughout the East Blue right now. As a renowned bounty hunter, he wouldn't be tied up here unless there was a specific reason. Rowan explained smoothly. While he couldn't reveal he knew the plot because he was a transmigrator, knowing the plot made it easy to deduce a logical explanation based on the current situation. Rowan then turned to the little girl. But why don't you tell us the details? Since you risked coming here to bring him food, this must involve you somehow, right? Rowan asked gently. Big brother, my name is Rika. The girl introduced herself politely, then proceeded to explain what had happened. The son of the local Marine Captain Morgan, Helmpo, frequently paraded around town with his so-called pet, a vicious dog. At the restaurant Rika and her mother ran to make a living, the dog started harassing customers and causing chaos. Rika bravely tried to stop it, which drew Helmpo's ire. Zoro intervened, easily dealing with Helmpo and his dog. But Helmpo threatened to use his father's authority to have everyone present executed. Therefore, Zoro made a deal with Helmpo. He would allow himself to be tied up here for a month without food or water. If he survived, Rika and the others would be spared. Today marked the 20th day. Wow, you're amazing. If I went more than 3 days without eating, I'd definitely starve to death. Luffy exclaimed. After hearing the story, he had already decided he wanted Zoro to join his crew. My willpower is completely different from yours. I will survive, Zoro declared with a determined grin. Definitely a man of steel. It'd be a waste for him to die here. Rowan said appreciatively. When it came to sheer willpower, Zoro was absolutely top class. Later in the story, Zoro would endure the full measure of pain extracted from Luffy by Kuma's paw fruit, suffering horrific injuries and massive blood loss, and when questioned by Sanji, he would deliver the iconic line, nothing happened. Die here? What are you talking about? I only have 10 days left to fulfill the agreement. I will survive, Zoro retorted coldly, assuming Rowan doubted his ability to last the final 10 days. I'm not questioning whether you can survive. I'm questioning whether you really think trash like him, who abuses his father's power to oppress civilians, will actually honor his promise to you. Rowan stated calmly. Ha ha ha. He's right. Just then, an obnoxious laugh echoed through the courtyard. A young man, clearly dressed like a spoiled brat relying on daddy's influence, swaggered towards them, flanked by 2 Marine soldiers. Helmpo, Zoro muttered, realization dawning in his eyes, which turned exceptionally cold. I was originally planning to tell you tomorrow, right before your execution. But since someone already figured it out, executing you today works just fine too. Helmpo sneered, laughing mockingly at Zoro. You bastard. Zoro growled, his eye twitching. Ha ha ha. The famous pirate hunter dying by my hand. My name, Helmpo, will surely spread far and wide across the seas now. Ha ha ha. Helmpo gloated arrogantly. Whoosh. Smack. While Helmpo was lost in his arrogant laughter, an elongated fist shot out and slammed squarely into his obnoxious face, sending him flying. What a scumbag. Luffy commented coldly, retracting his rubber arm after punching Helmpo. What the hell are you? Zoro stared, dumbfounded, at the completely inhuman feat he had just witnessed. Luffy ate the Gamu Gamu fruit. He's a rubber man. Rowan explained with a calm smile. Chapter 12, Gamu Gamu fruit? Rubber man? Zoro stared at Luffy in disbelief. Devil fruits, Things like that actually existed? You bastard. How dare you hit me? My dad will kill you. Helmpo shrieked, clutching his rapidly swelling face where Luffy had punched him. Pow. 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 Luffy's response was another barrage of punches. Stop. Stop it. If you keep hitting him, you'll really get yourselves killed. The two nearby marine soldiers, initially stunned by Luffy's rubber abilities, snapped back to reality as Helmpo neared unconsciousness. They moved to intervene. Could you please not interfere with our captain's business? Rowan asked calmly, the crimson black light flickering faintly in his eyes. VMM. The next moment, an invisible wave washed over the two marines. Their eyes rolled back, and they instantly collapsed, unconscious. What was that? Zoro watched, stunned. This man named Rowan merely narrowed his eyes, and Zoro's instincts screamed as a terrifying power surged from him, instantly knocking the two soldiers out cold. Having never witnessed such power before, Zoro was utterly incredulous. That's called Conqueror's Haki. The weak can't maintain consciousness under its pressure. Rowan explained with a faint smile, the crimson black light receding from his eyes. Conqueror's Haki? Zoro murmured the unfamiliar term. Since setting out, he'd become a bounty hunter out of necessity, needing money to survive, trading pirates for cash. His formidable strength had earned him the title Pirate Hunter, but he'd never encountered powers as bizarre as these before. Whether it was Luffy's rubber abilities or this man Rowan's power. The sea truly is vast. Ah, much better. That scumbag needed a beating. Luffy sighed contentedly, looking at the now unconscious Helmpo. Check. Traits. Rowan thought inwardly, focusing on the knocked-out Helmpo. Helmpo trait, Reformed Boost, Pale Purple, Reformed Boost, Pale Purple, can undergo a redemption arc. Upon redemption, strength increases. Even weaklings like him has a Pale Purple trait? And this scumbag had used his father's power to torment countless civilians. Yet he could inexplicably get redeemed. And become stronger? The original author's logic was baffling sometimes. But even though it's a Pale Purple trait, it's completely useless to me. Just as Rowan had that thought, another notification appeared. Traits of purple tier or higher can be converted into fixed upgrade materials. Upgrade materials can be used to enhance existing equipped traits. Reading the screen, Rowan confirmed the details, a slight smile touching his lips. So that's how the system's upgrade function works. Waste not, want not, I suppose. Blunder. Helmpo's trait was instantly absorbed by Rowan. Convert. Rowan focused on the Reformed Boost, Pale Purple, trait, conversion complete. Current quantity of potential type Pale Purple upgrade materials, 1, having used the function, Rowan now fully understood. Basically, he could convert unwanted traits into upgrade tools to enhance the traits he did want. However, white and blue tier traits couldn't be used for upgrades. Also, only traits fully blundered could be converted. Traits equipped from crewmates, being more like mirrored copies, couldn't be used as upgrade materials, even though Rowan could use them freely without restriction once fully equipped. Only traits of Pale Purple tier or higher, obtained through direct plunder, could serve as upgrade fuel for Rowan's own traits. Combat-related traits were categorized as either potential type or strength type. For example, the Faction Fortune, Apex Gold, plundered from Kobe was a potential type trait. Luffy's Sun God, Apex Gold, was also potential type. Rowan's already awakened Conqueror's Haki, Pale Gold, which could be directly used in combat, was a strength-type trait. Traits like Luffy's Superhuman Physique, Deep Purple, and Zoro's Demonic Physique, Deep Purple, were also strength-type. For strength-type traits related to physical prowess, like Physique, the displayed tier represented the current level of power the owner could exert. It didn't indicate the trait's ultimate potential ceiling. The same applied to combat skill traits like Zoro's Three-Sword Style, Deep Purple, and Luffy's Gamu Gamu Fruit, Deep Purple. Potential type upgrade materials could only upgrade other potential type traits, not strength type traits. Seeing this limitation, Rowan felt a slight pang of disappointment. If direct upgrading were possible, he might have considered using the Faction Fortune, Apex Gold, to boost his Conqueror's Haki. While Faction Fortune, Apex Gold, had immense potential, it still paled in comparison to a fully mastered Conqueror's Haki, Infusion, Apex Gold. That represented true Emperor-level power. Still, while disappointing, the limitation made sense. Potential was just potential, not actual strength. Being able to directly convert potential into overwhelming power would be like creating something from nothing, violating fundamental laws of reality. This realization deepened Rowan's sense of being in a real world. Even with his powerful system, basic principles still applied. To truly reach the pinnacle of this world, the system merely provided the ticket. Becoming the strongest ultimately depended on his own efforts. Rowan smirked slightly. Good. That makes it interesting. Let's see just how far I can go. Kingly disposition increased. Conqueror's hockey intensity increased. Another notification flashed. Just as I suspected. The strength of Conqueror's hockey is tied to that concept of kingly disposition from the story. Rowan noted this inwardly. It confirmed the correctness of his decision to make a high-profile debut and claim the Sky Sovereign epithet. In the One Piece world, only by building a fearsome reputation, using the blood and failures of enemies as nourishment, could one truly stand at the absolute top. Looks like I'll need to be even more high-profile in the future. Get that bounty nice and high. Anyway, with Luffy's connections backing him, he didn't need to worry too much about attracting unbeatable enemies prematurely. Rowan resolved his future course. Having clarified his path, Rowan continued examining the upgrade function. It required 10 upgrade materials of the same tier to raise a trait by one sub-level. For instance, the potential type pale purple material obtained from Helmpo, 10 of these could upgrade another potential type pale purple trait to potential type deep purple. Compared to others who had to train slowly over time, this method was incredibly fast. Rowan was quite satisfied. From now on, even useless traits of purple tier or higher could serve a significant purpose. And without his most valuable, albeit pathetic, pale purple trait, Helmpo was now utterly worthless. You guys are pirates, right? Why are you getting involved in this mess? Zoro asked at that moment, clearly confused. When you see scum like that, you gotta punch him. Luffy declared matter-of-factly with a grin, then looked straight at Zoro. Hey, you. Wanna be my nakama? Luffy extended the invitation. Why would I want to become a villain? Zoro retorted, baffled by Luffy's logic. But I've already decided you're gonna be my nakama. Luffy stated with absolute certainty. Hey. Will you listen when someone's talking? Zoro snapped. But if you don't agree, you'll just die here, right? A man like you must have ambitions you need to fulfill. Are you really content to die here? Rowan interjected calmly. Zoro fell silent instantly. Die here? How could he possibly be content with that? If he were, how could he have endured 20 days without food through sheer willpower? To become the world's greatest swordsman, to make his name echo even in the heavens, that was his promise to his deceased childhood friend, Kuina. It was Zoro's ambition. Oh yeah. You're a swordsman, right? Where are your swords? Luffy suddenly asked. That guy took them. Zoro replied, glancing towards the unconscious Helmpo. Huh? Then I'll go get your swords back for you. If you want them back, you gotta be my nakama. Luffy grinned, then grabbed the unconscious Helmpo and started dragging him away. Hey! Wake up! Where are Zoro's swords? If you don't tell me, I'll beat you up some more. Luffy yelled, slapping Helmpo's face. Luffy, the marine base is that way. Rowan called out, pointing in the opposite direction of where Luffy was heading. Oh, right. Thanks, Rowan. Luffy quickly changed direction and dashed off again. That guy. He really doesn't listen to anyone. Zoro muttered, his eyebrow twitching as he watched Luffy disappear. And you actually acknowledge him as your captain? Zoro asked, looking at Rowan who had stayed behind. Luffy might seem like an airhead most of the time, but he's incredibly reliable when it counts. Rowan replied with a smile, then turned to Rika. You should head home now, Rika. Things are about to get chaotic here. Rowan said gently. But Rika hesitated, looking down at the now slightly cooled rice balls in her hands. Give them here. Zoro suddenly said. Rika blinked, then her small face broke into a radiant smile. Here you go, big brother. Watching Zoro hungrily devour the rice balls she made, Rika's smile grew even brighter. Delicious. I'm full. Zoro said after swallowing the last bite, a faint smile on his face. I'm so happy. Thank you, big brother. Rika beamed, then looked towards Rowan, understanding that it was because of him that Zoro had eaten her food. See? Isn't a child's sincerity more precious than gold? Rowan smiled, observing the scene. Yeah. Zoro admitted, a genuine smile gracing his own features. Boom. Just then, a massive explosion rocked the area. Chapter 13, Zoro joins. Equipable traits updated. Boom. The massive explosion echoed through the base. Rowan and Zoro turned towards the sound, watching as a colossal statue plummeted from the highest point of the marine building, crashing heavily to the ground and kicking up a cloud of dust. That. Don't tell me. Zoro's eye twitched as he stared at the shattered remains of the statue. The statue's likeness was clearly that of the base's commander, Marine Captain Morgan. Zoro had been stuck here for 20 days, he'd seen them working almost non-stop on that statue. That man Morgan was incredibly obsessed with it. Looks like Luffy got lost again. Rowan commented, amused. In the original story, Luffy destroyed Morgan's statue while chasing Helmpo. But this time, Helmpo was already with Luffy, yet he still managed to bring the statue down. Guess it just proved that scum like Morgan never deserved a statue like that in the first place. Rowan. Could I ask you a favor? Zoro hesitated, looking towards Rika. He struggled to get the words out. Asking someone for help was proving more difficult than Zoro had anticipated. Don't worry. Rika will be fine. Rowan reassured him, stepping protectively in front of the little girl with a calm smile. Rebels. Just then, a group of Marines surged towards them, led by a tall, imposing figure. The most striking feature of the leading Marine was that one of his arms was entirely replaced by a massive axe, Marine Captain Axe Hand Morgan. You're accomplices of that straw hat brat. And you, planning a coup, are you? Roronoa Zoro. This ends now. You're all guilty of rebellion. I'll execute you on the spot. Morgan roared, his eyes bloodshot with fury. Rowan. At least get Rika out of here. Zoro yelled desperately. Trying to run? All units, prepare. Morgan raised his hand. Click. Clack. Forced by Morgan's authority and power, the Marines reluctantly raised their rifles. Is this really how I die? Feeling the chilling approach of death, Zoro wasn't afraid, but he was filled with immense frustration. He hadn't fulfilled his promise to Kuina yet, to become the world's greatest swordsman. And now, he had dragged Rika and Rowan into this mess. So noisy. Rowan kept Rika safely behind him, the crimson-black light in his eyes flashing wildly. Aren't you underestimating me? You're merely a branch captain. Rowan stated coolly. VMM. An invisible pressure washed over the Marines aiming their rifles. The next instant, thump. 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 The numerous rifle-wielding Marines' eyes rolled back, and they collapsed unconscious. That power again. Can he just use it infinitely? Zoro muttered in shock, staring at the sea of unconscious Marines littering the ground. Rowan? I remember now. There was a recent news report about a man in the East Blue who wiped out the entire Alvida pirate crew without even lifting a finger, just with his presence alone. The man who claims he will stand above all. Are you that Sky Sovereign Rowan? Morgan stammered, sweat beading on his forehead as he witnessed the incomprehensible scene and recalled Zoro shouting Rowan's name. The most prominent news story in the East Blue lately flashed through his mind. The World Economic News Agency's front-page headline from a few days ago perfectly matched the current situation. That report had hailed this man as the herald of a new king's birth upon the seas. For Morgan, who believed titles were everything, a man bearing such an epithet was inherently terrifying. And now, he had witnessed this utterly unbelievable power firsthand. The man who will stand above all, Sky Sovereign Rowan? Zoro murmured, looking at Rowan. What an arrogance. But possessing such power. Maybe this man actually had the right to be that arrogant. Oh? Even a weakling like you has heard the news? The World Economic News Agency is quite efficient, aren't they? Rowan nodded, very satisfied. At least he wouldn't have to worry about the Marines giving him some ridiculous nickname now. Kingly disposition increased. Conqueror's hockey intensity increased, just as expected. Rowan's earlier hypothesis was confirmed again. Gaining fame and reputation across the seas increased one's kingly disposition, which in turn strengthened their hockey. As for why, Rowan gained a slight intuitive understanding. Seeing Morgan sweating just from hearing his name felt really good. Gamu Gamu no. Rocket. Just then, accompanied by a familiar shout, Luffy launched himself down from the top of the Marine base building. Whoa, Rowan. You took care of this many already? Luffy grinned, looking at the few Marines still standing amidst the sea of unconscious bodies. Straw Hat Brat. Morgan's eyes turned bloodshot again at the sight of Luffy. The grudge for destroying his precious statue had to be repaid. But, looking at Rowan, cold sweat dripped down Morgan's brow. Get them. Kill them all. Morgan roared at the few remaining conscious Marines. Captain. If we keep fighting that man, we'll end up just like them. He's a monster. The remaining soldiers were terrified, completely unnerved by the inexplicable display of power. I ordered you to kill them. Do it, or I'll execute you for treason. Morgan bellowed. What's this? Infighting? Luffy watched Morgan's tantrum with mild curiosity, then shrugged it off and pulled 3 swords from his back. There were 3 swords in that room. Which ones are yours? Luffy asked Zoro. All 3 are mine. I use the 3-sword style. Zoro replied. Alright then. I'll untie you. You gonna become my nakama, or stay here and get killed by the Marines? Luffy grinned at Zoro. Fine. Better to be a villain than die here. Zoro sighed, then a fierce, beast-like grin spread across his face. A cornered beast is far more dangerous than a calm one. Alright. Another new nakama. Luffy cheered, throwing his hands in the air. If you understand, then hurry up and untie these ropes. Zoro yelled, watching Morgan cut down one of his own hesitant soldiers, forcing the others to charge towards them. But these knots are really tight. Luffy fumbled with the ropes. Give me the swords. Zoro roared. To Luffy's astonishment, Zoro clamped one of the swords firmly between his teeth. Slice. The next instant, the ropes binding Zoro were severed. He stood free, a sword in each hand and one in his mouth, turning his back to Luffy to face the charging Marines. Roronoa Zoro has joined the Straw Hat Pirates, currently equipable trait targets updated, can now equip traits from Roronoa Zoro. A notification screen appeared before Rowan's eyes. The reason Rowan hadn't wiped out these last few Marines and Morgan with his Conqueror's Haki was intentional. He'd left them for Zoro. This was Zoro's initiation. Fighting against the Marines here would solidify his status as a villain in the eyes of the world. Zoro's traits are now within reach. Chapter 14, Target Locked, Buggy the Clown's Secret. Seeing the notification screen appear, Rowan didn't hesitate. He mentally selected Equip next to Demonic Physique, Deep Purple, and Azure Aura. Special. As for 3-sword style, and it's stronger than a hyena bite strength. He'd leave that one for Zoro himself. Watching the progress bar begin to fill for Zoro's Demonic Physique, Deep Purple, alongside Luffy's Superhuman Physique, Deep Purple, which was already about a third of the way equipped, Rowan smirked. Soon. This ticket to becoming a true monster will be completely mine. Whoa, so cool. Luffy exclaimed, fascinated by Zoro's unique 3-sword stance. He always loved weird and interesting things. Attacking the Marines here. I guess I really am a villain now. But Zoro lifted his head, a fierce, beast-like grin spreading across his face as he looked at Luffy. I'm going to become the world's greatest swordsman. If you prevent me from achieving that ambition, you'll have to apologize by committing seppuku. Shishishi. If the comrade of the future king of the pirates didn't have at least that much ambition, I'd be the one worried. Luffy grinned back. Zoro, duck. Gamu Gamu no. Whip. Luffy stretched his leg like a whip, kicking away the Marines who had been behind Zoro. Rebel. Seeing that Sky Sovereign Rowan, the one he feared most, wasn't making a move, Morgan roared and charged forward, swinging his axe arm wildly. 3-sword style, Onigiri, Demon Slash. Slash. A spray of blood erupted as Zoro unleashed one of his strongest techniques at the time, Onigiri. Thud. Caught by Zoro's Demon Slash, Morgan's eyes rolled white, and he collapsed heavily to the ground. We won. Shishishi. Luffy cheered, throwing his hands up. Your captain's down. Anyone else wanna fight? Luffy yelled, rolling up his sleeves. See, Captain Morgan is defeated? The few remaining conscious Marines looked at each other hesitantly. The next moment, clatter. Clatter. They all tossed their weapons into the air. Alright. Morgan's defeated. We're free from his tyranny. The Marines erupted in cheers and celebration. What? They're happy their captain got beat? Luffy looked surprised. Well, most people who join the Marines in this era genuinely want to help civilians. Scumbags like Morgan are the exception, not the rule. Rowan explained. Even though he was now a pirate, he didn't completely dismiss the Marines. For ordinary people, the Marines often did provide safety in these chaotic times. Pirates like Luffy, who were essentially adventurers and sometimes even saved local populations, were extremely rare. Plus, they were constantly moving, they couldn't offer consistent protection to civilians. That was why many countries sought protection under the banner of an emperor. Having a fixed territory provided a sense of security for the people. Ma, guess you're right. Shishishi. These Marines don't seem so bad. Luffy mused, nodding in agreement. You two really are different from most villains. Zoro commented, surprised. A slight smile touched his lips. His word was his bond, having agreed to join, he would follow through. But joining a crew that wasn't inherently evil was definitely something to be happy about. His decision to join wasn't just because he was threatened with death and wanted to pursue his dream. More importantly, he could sense that Luffy and Rowan were fundamentally different from the vicious pirates who pillaged and murdered. Especially Rowan. A man who could say a child's sincerity is more precious than gold couldn't be truly bad. Besides, this man possessed that unbelievably powerful ability, Conqueror's Haki. And the man recognized by someone like Rowan, Luffy, the captain, must have something special about him too. Now, It seemed his instincts were correct. Bond with Zoro increased. Trait equipping progress increased. A notification appeared, causing Rowan's lips to curve slightly upwards. Yep. Definitely works. Ah. Starving. Just then, Zoro suddenly collapsed. Having gone 20 days without food, the fact that he could even defeat Morgan moments ago was solely thanks to Rika's rice balls. Big brother. Come eat at my place. Rika invited happily. Food. Can we come too? Luffy immediately shouted excitedly. Yes. Of course. You big brothers saved our town. Rika beamed even brighter. Rowan, let's go. Food. Luffy urged, looking at Rowan. You guys go ahead. I got word there's a map of the Grand Line in this marine base. I'll go grab it first. Rowan said, looking towards the base building. Okay. We'll go on ahead. Luffy grabbed the exhausted Zoro by one ankle. Hey. You idiot. Don't tell me. Zoro, completely drained of strength, felt his eye twitch. Time to eat. Luffy started dragging Zoro by the ankle, picking Rika up in his other arm, and dashed off towards the restaurant following Rika's directions. Zoro, meanwhile, was being dragged along the ground by his foot. You damn bastard. At least carry me. Zoro's enraged shouts were drowned out by Luffy's excited yells. What? I'll kill you someday. You jerk. Rowan chuckled, watching the classic, comical scene from the original story unfold. Then, using his system, he quickly located Morgan's office. Just as expected. Nami already opened this safe. But she left this behind. Definitely one of the coward trio. Rowan muttered amusedly, looking at the piece of paper in his hand. It had the Buggy Pirates Jolly Roger drawn on it and text reading, took the map, yours truly. How did Rowan know? Trait. Safe, a safe that was opened by Nami, then closed again. With the valuable map gone, Nami had cleverly left this note behind to avoid drawing marine attention to herself. Rowan wasn't disappointed about missing Nami. Without observation hockey, catching a skilled infiltrator like her wouldn't be easy. Besides, he wasn't worried. They'd be meeting soon enough, at Buggy the Clown's location. Buggy the Clown, huh? Rowan's gaze turned thoughtful as he looked at the paper. An apprentice on the pirate King Goldie Rogers' ship, alongside the current emperor, red-haired Shanks. Apparently, during the clash between the Roger pirates and the Whitebeard pirates back then, Buggy had actually left a stronger impression on Whitebeard than Shanks did. What exactly made Buggy special? It was something Rowan had always wondered about while reading the original story. After all, in the story, Buggy later became a warlord primarily by leveraging his status as a former Roger pirate to gather strong followers, and having that fact broadcast during the Summit War. Then, through a series of sheer coincidences and relying heavily on his emperor fathers, Mihawk and Crocodile, he somehow stumbled into becoming an emperor himself. His actual combat performance, however, was consistently abysmal. But now, facing Rowan and his strongest trait system, whatever special qualities Buggy possessed wouldn't remain hidden for long. You were valued by Roger, just like Shanks was. I hope you can offer me some pleasant surprises, Buggy. Rowan took the paper and headed towards Rika's family restaurant. Chapter 15, Two Easily Manipulated Idiots. Rowan. You're back. Did you find the map? Thanks to the system, Rowan didn't even need to ask for directions, he found Rika's family restaurant easily. Luffy, whose mouth was currently stuffed full of food, saw Rowan enter and quickly swallowed. Buggy took it. Rowan stated, unfolding the piece of paper he held. Buggy? Who's that? Is he strong? Luffy asked curiously. He's a pirate with a 15 million Bailey bounty. For the East Blue, that's decent enough, I suppose. Rowan replied with a faint smile. 15 million Bailey? If we take him down, will my bounty be that high too? Luffy's eyes lit up at the mention of a bounty. Maybe. Rowan chuckled, seeing Luffy's reaction. Yep. Hook, line, and sinker. Yosh. Then let's go beat up that Buggy guy and take back the map. Luffy declared, rolling up his sleeves, full of fighting spirit. Hey. Are we really going to war with a whole pirate crew just for a bounty? Zoro exclaimed, suddenly feeling like he'd boarded a ship of fools. Before Rowan arrived, he'd confirmed with Luffy, besides Rowan, he was the second crewmate. And their pirate ship was just that tiny little boat docked at the harbor. Now, they were about to fight Buggy's crew over a bounty. While Zoro wasn't afraid, wasn't Luffy being way too reckless? He didn't act like a captain at all. It's not just about the bounty. We need that map to get to the Grand Line. You want to become the world's greatest swordsman, right? You can't do that staying in the East Blue. You have to go to the Grand Line to achieve your ambition. Rowan pointed out calmly, looking at Zoro. Yosh. Buggy's head is mine, Zoro declared, instantly fired up with fighting spirit. Hey. Two ridiculously easy to manipulate idiots. Rowan smiled inwardly. After setting their course, Rowan enjoyed a hearty meal at Rika's restaurant. Possessing beast strength, Blue, Rowan's appetite, while not comparable to Luffy's, was still many times greater than an ordinary person's. However, thankful that Rowan and the others had defeated Morgan and saved the town, all the residents eagerly brought ingredients from their homes to Rika's restaurant. Rowan naturally didn't stand on ceremony, being overly polite in such situations would just ruin the mood. Watching Rowan eat the food they brought, the townspeople all smiled happily. Afterwards, just like in the original story, the Marines who had been knocked out by Rowan's Conqueror's hockey woke up. They came to Rika's restaurant, informed Rowan's group they wouldn't be arrested, but requested they leave town as soon as possible. Unlike the original story, however, Kobe the Clown was already dealt with by Rowan, so Luffy didn't need to put on a clumsy act. Plus, Rowan hadn't forgotten how unprepared Luffy and Zoro were in the original story, nearly starving to death at sea. So, after gathering some necessary supplies, the three of them headed to the Straw Hat Pirates' temporary ship. Set sail. Luffy yelled energetically, standing proudly at the bow. Zoro took the oars, steering the small boat away from the harbor. Rowan held the sea map, directing their course. As Rowan's group sailed away, the Marine soldiers from the town's branch stood at the harbor, saluting them in gratitude for saving their town, watching the Straw Hat Pirates depart. Rowan, how much longer till we reach land? I'm getting kinda sick of apples. I want meat. Luffy whined listlessly, looking over at Rowan who was studying the map. Complain less. If it weren't for Rowan, we wouldn't even have these apples. I can't believe you want to be king of the pirates but didn't prepare any supplies for the voyage. Zoro sighed, exasperated with Luffy. Well, I'm not a professional navigator. I can't accurately predict our arrival time. Rowan stated, looking at the map. Navigation. White, was only good enough for sailing in calm waters. Accurately predicting arrival times was a job for truly talented individuals like Nami. Rowan then picked up an apple and took a bite. Shellstown's resources had been nearly depleted under Morgan's oppressive rule. And their small boat lacked any means of preserving food, so stocking up on a large amount of meat was impossible. When sailing, getting enough vitamins was crucial to prevent scurvy. Therefore, apples, cheap, relatively long-lasting, and nutritious, were the best option. Got it. Let's eat that. Suddenly, Luffy looked up at the sky and shouted. Zoro and Rowan followed his gaze. It was a large bird. Huh? I can't fly. How are we supposed to knock that down and eat it? Zoro asked, his eyebrow twitching. Watch this. Gamu Gamu no. Rocket. Luffy grabbed the mast, stretched his arms back using his rubber elasticity, and launched himself into the sky. Oh, right. Zoro almost forgot their unreliable captain was a devil fruit user. Maybe Luffy is useful for something after all. At least he can help improve the menu. Rowan, however, wore a strange, knowing smile. The next moment, chomp. The large bird accurately snatched Luffy's head in its beak. Ah! Help me! Luffy's panicked screams echoed down. Idiot! What the hell are you doing? Zoro yelled, his face contorting in anger. He started rowing frantically, chasing after the bird carrying Luffy away. You wanted to knock down the bird to improve our meal, and instead, you became the bird's meal? Trait. Plot bird, a bird that advances the plot. Hey! You boat over there. Stop. While Zoro desperately rowed after the bird holding Luffy hostage, three figures adrift in the water ahead started shouting. Rowan looked at the three men, a slight smile playing on his lips. Buggy pirate grunts, robbed of their treasure and boat by Nami, right? Damn it, survivors now of all times? Hey! No time for you guys. Get yourselves on board. Zoro yelled while still rowing furiously. The three castaways looked terrified as the small boat bore down on them, then scrambled with all their might to climb aboard just before impact. Are you trying to kill us? The three yelled at Zoro once they were safely, relatively, on board. Surprised you actually made it. Zoro smirked. Hey! We're part of the great Captain Buggy's crew. Stop this boat right now. It's ours. The leader of the three buggy pirates threatened, drawing his sword. Huh? Zoro turned, his expression shifting into a feral snarl. A few moments later. Ha ha ha. We had no idea you were the famous pirate hunter Zoro, sir. And the legendary Sky Sovereign Rowan, whose name is already spreading across the seas. We are so incredibly sorry. The three buggy pirates, now sporting bruised and swollen faces, had taken over rowing duty from Zoro. They rowed diligently while offering fawning, sycophantic smiles. It's your fault we lost track of our comrade. Just keep rowing straight ahead. Zoro ordered coldly. Yes, sir. Don't worry. That direction happens to be our destination anyway. Rowan commented, looking at the map with a smile. Yep. Just as expected. Even though I prepared apples so Luffy wouldn't starve, his craving for meat still led him to get his head bitten by a bird. And that bird's destination was, of course, the Buggy Pirates' current base of operations, Orange Town. Chapter 16, Buggy's Secret. A super trait. Orange Town. This town, famous for its oranges, was now the base of operations for the Buggy Pirates. Finally got it. A slender figure clutching a sea map was running for her life. It was Nami, having just stolen the Grand Line map from the Buggy Pirates. Behind her, Buggy's grunts were in hot pursuit. Ah! Help me! High above, the large bird was still flying, Luffy clamped firmly in its beak. Captain Buggy. There seems to be an unidentified object above the harbor. Inside a large tent set up on high ground in Orange Town, a man with a conspicuously large red nose opened his eyes. Shoot it down. Buggy ordered coldly. Boom. A cannonball accurately struck the bird. Luffy was released, plummeting towards the ground, landing precisely between Nami and her pursuers. What happened? Nami stared at the deep crater billowing dust. Ah, saved. That was an interesting trip. Luffy hopped out of the crater, adjusting his straw hat. Why you are? Nami stared at Luffy, finding him incredibly familiar. A moment's thought brought back the image of the handsome face she danced with on the luxury liner, the one who told her until we meet again. His name was Rowan, right? This straw-hatted boy was the one who had been on Rowan's boat when they escaped. Nami quickly glanced around but didn't see Rowan anywhere. Hey. It's you. Luffy noticed Nami at that moment, his face registering shock. Just as I thought. He remembers me. Just as Nami was about to say something, Luffy tilted his head, a look of utter confusion, complete with question marks, appearing above him. Who are you? Nami's eye twitched uncontrollably. If you don't remember me, why did you look so shocked when you saw me just now? Captain. It's me. The one who knows Rowan. Seeing the pursuing Buggy Pirates hesitate, Nami quickly composed herself and called out with a smile. Oh. You're the thief Rowan mentioned. The mention of Rowan finally jogged Luffy's memory. That's right. You came to save me, right? I'll leave these guys to you, then. Nami didn't care what Luffy called her at this point. Pointing at the Buggy Pirates, she quickly made her escape. Hey. If you're that woman's captain, then we'll capture you first. Then we'll make her hand over the map. The Buggy Pirate grunts shifted their target to Luffy. Ah, I'm starving. Luffy complained, clutching his stomach, looking weak. Bastard. I'm talking to you. One of the pirates roared in anger, punching Luffy's straw hat off his head. Don't touch my treasure. Luffy's arm stretched out, snatching his hat back. His eyes turned incredibly dangerous. Having angered Luffy, the pirate grunts were naturally dealt with easily. Wow, you're really strong. Nami, who had escaped to a nearby rooftop to observe, exclaimed in pleasant surprise upon witnessing Luffy's power. I'm Nami, a thief specializing in stealing from pirates. How about we team up? Seeing Luffy's skills, Nami, who initially only wanted the Grand Line map, now set her sights on the Buggy Pirates' treasure as well. No way. I don't want to team up with you. Luffy glanced at Nami, then turned to leave. Don't say that. I'll treat you to a meal. Nami offered with a charming smile. Really? Luffy's face instantly lit up with delight. Delicious. Inside a nearby house, Luffy devoured a hamburger in one bite, grinning happily. Do you live in such a big place all by yourself? Luffy asked curiously, looking around at Nami. No, I'm not from this town. Everyone fled because they were afraid of Buggy. Nami explained. So you broke in, then? Luffy stated bluntly, always saying whatever was on his mind. How rude. I'm a thief who specializes in stealing from pirates. Don't compare me to common burglars. Nami retorted indignantly. But a thief is a thief, right? Luffy commented casually between bites. I absolutely have to save up 100 million Bailey. With this Grand Line map, I can definitely do it. Nami declared with fierce determination. Map? You're a navigator? Luffy's expression changed instantly upon hearing that. I'm way better than your average navigator. Nami stated confidently when it came to her navigational skills. Then join my pirate crew as our navigator. Remembering Rowan's words about needing a skilled navigator for the Grand Line, Luffy immediately extended the invitation. No way. So you are a pirate. I hate pirates more than anything. Nami's expression soured instantly. The image of Rowan also flashed through her mind. She had initially thought Rowan's strange behavior on the ship meant he was another thief like her. Turns out, that guy was a pirate too. Oh, okay. Luffy didn't push it, simply returning to his food. Knowing Luffy was a pirate, Nami dropped the subject of teaming up and prepared to leave. But as she reached the window and saw Buggy's pirates patrolling outside, an idea sparked. She turned back to Luffy. However, if you agree to one condition, I might consider it. Nami offered with a sly smile. Really? I'll agree to anything. Luffy exclaimed excitedly. Okay. You have to come with me to meet Buggy. Nami said, pulling out a rope and quickly tying Luffy up. Why are you tying me up? Luffy asked, confused. Is there a problem? Nami smirked, seeing Luffy securely bound. Nami was fundamentally kind-hearted, otherwise, she wouldn't specifically target only pirates to earn her 100 million daily. But when it came to tricking pirates, she felt absolutely no guilt. Nope. I wanted to meet some pirates anyway. Let's go. Luffy replied with a surprisingly carefree grin. Meanwhile, Buggy was fuming because the thief hadn't been caught yet. Captain Buggy. A pirate grunt ran towards him, shouting. What is it? Buggy snapped, still furious about the stolen Grand Line map, which was very important to him. The thief. She came back on her own. The grunt yelled. What did you say? Buggy stared in disbelief. Looking over, he saw the thief herself escorting a tied-up boy wearing a straw hat towards them. That's them. That's the woman who stole the map. Another Buggy pirate pointed at Nami, shouting. Smack. Nami didn't panic. She just gave Luffy a hard shove, sending the bound boy tumbling to the ground. I've captured the thief for you, Captain Buggy the Clown. Here's your map back. Nami held up the sea map. Glad you brought it back. But what exactly caused this change of heart? Buggy asked, taking the map and giving Nami a strange, unsettling smile. My captain and I had a falling out. I've had enough of him. Please let me join your Buggy crew. Nami exclaimed with feigned enthusiasm. This was Nami's improvised plan. Surrounded by Buggy's crew, escape was impossible. So, she decided to use this pirate and the map to gain Buggy's trust, then find another opportunity later to steal the map back and escape. Hearing her words, Buggy's eyes suddenly filled with rage. See, Captain Buggy's angry. He's gonna use his devil powers. The surrounding Buggy pirates looked terrified. Devil powers. Luffy, still tied up on the ground, blinked upon hearing this. Could this Buggy guy be a devil fruit user too? Ha 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 ha. The next moment, Buggy burst into uproarious laughter instead. Couldn't stand that guy anymore, huh? You're an interesting woman. Alright. You can join. Buggy laughed heartily. Nami's eyes curved into crescents as she smiled brightly. Infiltration successful. Pirates really are simple-minded and easy to fool. Buggy's crew then dragged Luffy away and threw him into a cage. Why are you locking me up? Luffy yelled. But no one paid him any attention. I'm in a great mood today. What's your name, woman? Buggy asked Nami. Nami. She replied with a smile. Alright. Everyone, let's throw a welcome party for Nami. Let's have a flashy celebration. Buggy threw his arms wide, laughing grandly. Oh. Buggy's crew roared in response. Soon, food and drinks filled the Buggy pirate space. The pirates' way of celebrating was always through feasts and parties. What's wrong? Eat up. This is your welcome party. Buggy urged Nami, who was seated opposite him. Okay. Thank you very much. Nami replied with a smile. Having successfully infiltrated, Nami was already scheming how to steal the map back, and maybe even Buggy's treasure hoard. The Buggy pirates were notorious in the East Blue, and Buggy himself was famous for his love of treasure. If she could steal his stash, she'd surely make a fortune. Ha ha ha. Feeling great. Men. Prepare the special Buggy ball. After downing several drinks, Buggy suddenly roared with laughter. What are you doing? Nami watched with confusion as Buggy's crew rolled out a large cannon and loaded a peculiar-looking cannonball into it. Watch closely. The power of the special Buggy ball. Light the fuse. Buggy grinned sadistically. Boom! With a tremendous blast, the special Buggy ball was fired. The massive explosion tore straight through the town center in front of them, obliterating countless buildings in a violent blast. What was that explosion? Zoro, having already reached the shore, stared at the bright flash of light in the distance. That's Captain Buggy's ultimate move. The Buggy ball. One of the three Buggy pirates Rowan and Zoro had commandeered explained, sweating nervously. Buggy ball? Zoro repeated the name. Let's go. Luffy's probably right over there. He has a knack for attracting trouble. Rowan commented, looking towards the direction the Buggy ball was fired from, a faint smile on his lips. Isn't it magnificent? With my Buggy balls and my devil fruit powers, I'll definitely conquer the Grand Line. Right, Nami? Buggy gloated, admiring the destruction wrought by his buggy ball. Why yes, Captain Buggy. Nami managed to reply, trying to suppress the turmoil within her. Thank goodness the townspeople already left. No casualties. Huh? I'm the one who's gonna conquer the Grand Line. I'm gonna be king of the pirates. Luffy yelled indignantly upon hearing Buggy's boast. Buggy's face instantly contorted with rage, veins popping on his forehead. Ha ha ha. Now I see why you couldn't stand this idiot, Nami. Buggy scoffed, finding it ridiculous that such a little brat dared claim he be Pirate King. Exactly. He's just a naive fool who hasn't seen the world. That's why I couldn't follow him anymore. Nami quickly agreed, forced to play along. Alright then. As a reward, I'll let you fire a buggy ball. Blow your former captain away. Buggy grinned cruelly. This will also serve as proof of your true loyalty to me. This is the real welcome ceremony, Nami. Click. A new buggy ball was loaded into the cannon, aimed directly at Luffy's cage. Fire. Fire. The surrounding buggy pirates began chanting wildly. A box of matches was thrust into Nami's hand, but it trembled uncontrollably. She knew perfectly well that if she didn't fire, Buggy would kill her. But how could she become one of them, one of the pirates? What's wrong? Your hand is shaking. Luffy suddenly commented. Nami flinched. It's because you challenged pirates without having the necessary resolve. That's why you ended up like this. Luffy stated calmly, showing no fear despite being trapped in a cage with a cannon aimed at him. Resolve? What resolve? To kill people casually? Is that what pirate resolve means? Nami shot back, biting her lip as painful memories surfaced. No. It's the resolve to bet your own life. Luffy replied, his usual carefree expression replaced by a glimpse of the true depth of his own kingly disposition. Fine. Let me do it. Seeing Nami hesitate, one of Buggy's crew snatched the matches, preparing to light the fuse. Whoosh. Thwack. Just as he was about to light it, Nami whipped out a collapsible bow staff and struck the pirate down hard. Nami. What do you think you're doing? Buggy's face turned ugly. I'm sorry. Nami blurted out impulsively, her usual cautious nature returning as she bowed deeply in apology. You think a simple apology is enough? Buggy roared, his face twisting into a furious snarl. What the heck? You're only trying to save me. Now. Luffy looked confused by Nami's actions. Don't be ridiculous. It was just an impulse. I just don't want to become like those cruel pirates. Nami retorted, gripping her staff tightly as Buggy's crew began to surround her warily. Oh. So it was just an impulse, huh? Luffy sounded slightly disappointed, having thought maybe Nami was finally joining his crew. Pirates took the life of the most important person to me. Who would ever want to associate with them? Driven to the edge, Nami finally vented her true feelings. Oh, so that's how it is. Luffy finally understood why Nami, who had initially seemed willing to cooperate, had instantly rejected his offer the moment she learned he was a pirate. F's. Just then, the sound of a burning fuse filled the air. Ah! The fuse is lit. Luffy panicked. His rubber body could withstand punches, but not explosions. Don't push your luck, little girl. Kill her. Flashily. Buggy was completely enraged now, his eyes bloodshot. Die. Flashily. Several buggy pirates eager to impress their captain charged at Nami. Nami dodged agilely, then sprinted towards the burning cannon fuse. Water. Where's water? Luffy frantically looked around. Damn it. Not enough time. Seeing the fuse about to burn out, Nami grit her teeth and grabbed it directly with her bare hands. Ah! The searing pain of the burning fuse made Nami cry out. You! Luffy stared, shocked by Nami's action. The fuse slowly sputtered out in Nami's grasp. Die! But the danger wasn't over. The buggy pirates behind her raised their weapons, charging in for the kill. Nami closed her eyes in despair. Clang! Ganging up on a defenseless woman like this? How pathetic! A mocking voice cut through the tension. Zoro! Luffy exclaimed happily, seeing Zoro appear, swords drawn, having just dispatched the attacking pirates. Been a while, Miss Thief. Then, a familiar chuckle reached Nami's ears. Nami turned towards the sound, seeing the figure she had danced with on the luxury liner slowly walking towards them. Rowan. How did you guys find this place? Luffy asked excitedly. Rowan. Long time no see. Nami replied automatically. She hadn't expected, on this vast sea, that they would actually meet again. Especially not under circumstances like these. Check. Traits. Rowan, however, didn't have much time for reunions right now. He focused his gaze intently on Buggy. VMM. A brilliant,